Chapter 83. Some people would make you fall in love with them at first sight. Some people would make you want to beat them up. Clearly, in Saburo Fujino's eyes, Fong Yin belonged to the latter category. Saburo Fujino had challenged Fong Yin during his class. Even though he had hidden his trump card, Fong Yin had still won 2 matches in a row. This caused him to lose face. His heart was filled with grievance and discomfort. What caused him to vomit blood was the fact that the students who lost the match were praising Huaxia's teachers and students. Be it Chiba Kuru or Ueno Nobuo, both of them had expressed their admiration for Huaxia's culture and spirit. They had also spoken highly of their opponents, saying that they had learned a lot from them. What kind of behavior was this? This was a slap to the face. He had just shouted out the slogan Tang and Song cultures in Japan, and they had been conquered by Huaxia's culture. Do they still want to be compatriots? Saburo Fujino was a smart person. He knew that he could not go against the general trend. Since both his teachers and students had a favorable impression of Huaxia's culture in Rosefinch Secondary, it would not be appropriate for him to be the only one hostile towards them. That would only cause others to think that he was narrow-minded and an anomaly. He was prepared to change his battle strategy. He would treat his enemies with a gentle and friendly attitude. However, he would show no mercy during the match. Only the victor would have the right to make fun of others. Was that not the case? He had already made up his mind. After the experts he sent out had slaughtered Rosefinch's students until they were crying for their parents, he would go and have a talk with Fong Yin. His expression would surely be quite ugly, right? They had already lost 2 matches. They were hoping to win back some face in the 3rd match. How could they cancel a match? If they were to cancel the match, then they would have no chance at all. Additionally, others would say something like this: Wu Run is afraid of Rosefinch Secondary's victory and no longer dares to continue the match. This result was even harder to accept than losing the 3rd match. This was Wu Ren's shame. It was also Saburo's shame. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Seeing Fong Yin turn around to report to the leader, Saburo Fujino grabbed his arm and said, Fong Yin, sensei. Fong Yin, sensei, you misunderstood my words. I have no intention of canceling the match. I mean, when will our afternoon match begin? Where's the venue? Not canceling the match. Fong Yin turned to look at Saburo Fujino. Not canceling the match. Saburo Fujino turned to look at Saburo. Saburo Fujino suddenly realized something. A smile appeared on his face as he said, Could it be that teacher Fong Yin wants to cancel the competition? How is that possible? Fong Yin naturally had to deny it. I've already told you about our concerns. We don't want our 3 consecutive wins to affect the deep friendship between our 2 schools. Of course, this will also affect Wu Ren's confidence. As the host of this event, we have to think more comprehensively and in the long term. To do what we do and do things, we need to finish. Is that not the case? Saburo Fujino looked at Fong Yin and said with a smile, I have heard that Rosefinch does not have a tradition of practicing swordsmanship. Could it be that Sensei Fong Yin wants to invite an expert from outside to accept the challenge? If that is the case, then we will have to surrender. This is Huaxia. If you want to find 3 to 5 experts, it would not be an issue. Fong Yan's face turned serious, and he said, Our Rosefinch does not have a tradition of practicing swordsmanship. However, that does not mean that our school does not have any experts. Sensei Fujino, you can insult me, but you cannot belittle my students. In view of your unkind words, I have decided to challenge you. Let's duel the 2 of us in the 3rd round of the fencing competition. I am just a scholar without the strength to even trust a chicken. However, the integrity of a scholar does not allow me to take even half a step back. Life or death is up to fate. I am willing to sign a blood contract with you. Listening to Fong Yan's words, Saburo Fujino's heart was slightly moved. Fong Yin was taller than him, but he was not as big as him. Additionally, he was someone who paid more attention to training himself and had learned a few moves of Taekwondo. If he could openly beat up Fong Yin in front of everyone, he would be able to vent his anger and his students would certainly be inspired. However, he quickly rejected this tempting idea. After 2 days of contact, he felt that Fong Yin was a very cunning fellow. For him to take the initiative to challenge him meant that he must have a plan in mind. If he were to agree to his proposal, wouldn't he be walking right into his trap? I'm not that stupid, Saburo Fujino thought to himself. He looked at Fong Yin with a straight face and said, "This is just my personal concern. I do not have any intention of belittling Rosefinch's students. In my eyes, Rosefinch's students are very outstanding and lovable. I am afraid that some teachers would only covet the glory of victory and bring in experts from outside the school to participate in the competition. In this way, even if they were to win the competition, the students would be disappointed. Face projects will only harm themselves and others. Just say it. Do you want to accept my challenge or not?" Fong Yin said impatiently. "I'm a teacher. This kind of matter should naturally be handled by my students. I believe in them, just like how they are willing to believe in me," Saburo Fujino said. "This is a show for the students. I will not snatch away the opportunity that belongs to them." Fong Yin looked at Saburo Fujino in surprise and said, "I thought only our school's director Li Mingqiang would be able to say such high-sounding words. It turns out that Teacher Fujino is even better than Director Li. What did you say?" "Teacher Fujino, you understand what I mean," Fong Yin smiled. "We are both language teachers. Our ability to understand words is deeper than others. Isn't that right?" Saburo Fujino felt like hitting someone again. He said, "There is no point in talking so much. Let's get ready for the competition. Our team members have already been chosen. What about your team members?" "They have already been chosen," Fong Yin said confidently. "The Kendo competition will be held in the school's Taekwondo dojo. Like the art club, calligraphy club, literature club, and gaming club, this was a club established by several students who love Taekwondo. Later, as the number of students participating increased, the school opened a dojo specifically for the Taekwondo club to provide training for the students. When the members of Warren's delegation saw the logo of the Taekwondo dojo, a strange expression appeared on their faces. Saburo Fujino glanced at Fong Yin and said with a smile, "Teacher Fong Yin, could it be that the people of Huaxia are more committed to promoting the development of Taekwondo? Huaxia preserves its own unique cultural characteristics and is also willing to accept some foreign cultures. As long as it is of good quality and beneficial to our citizens, we are happy to accept and promote it," Fong Yin said in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. "Regardless of what kind of culture it is, it will only become a part of our Huaxia country and cannot replace the mainstream culture. Some people like to eat steak and spaghetti, but have you seen any Huaxia family that eats steak and spaghetti every day? Rice, steamed buns, stir-fried vegetables, and stew are our common dishes. We have such confidence." Saburo Fujino smiled and no longer said anything. He knew that he was no match for Fong Yin when it came to bickering. The Taekwondo dojo was not closed to outsiders due to the competition today. Therefore, many students in Taoist attire could be seen practicing inside. Saburo Fujino pursed his lips when he saw the moves of the students and did not say anything. The president of the Taekwondo club, Luo Yi, walked over and took the initiative to greet Lu Chaoga. He smiled and said, "Principal Lu, the venue has been prepared. You can start any time." Luo Yi was a high school student and an influential figure in the school. He was very familiar with some of the school's leaders and teachers. Her attitude towards Lu Xiaoga was one of respect and intimacy, unlike the other students who were afraid and reserved. Lu Xiaoga nodded and said, "Thank you for your hard work. Principal Lu, you are too polite. We are also a part of Rosefinch Secondary and should do our part for the school." Luo Yi glanced at the Warren inspection team and thought to himself, "I wonder if there are any experts on their side. I hope that the competition will not be too disappointing." "Chiba Halmu, step forward," Saburo Fujino shouted in Japanese. As soon as he finished speaking, a short boy wearing a Japanese school uniform walked out from the crowd. The boy was about 1.6 meters tall. When he walked, his body swayed from side to side. His posture looked a little strange, but his steps were light and natural. His footsteps were light and quick, and his white cloth shoes made almost no sound when he stepped on the wooden floor. The boy had a cute baby face, and the shape of his face was somewhat similar to Chiba Halmu's. Fang Yin looked at Chiba Haomu's expression and noticed that when she looked at Chiba Haomu, there was a gentle smile on her face. They should be siblings, Fang Yin guessed. Chiba Haomu noticed Fang Yan's gaze and nodded at him with a smile. He did not know if it was just a greeting or an affirmation that his guess was correct. Fang Yin smiled and quickly turned his head away. If someone with ulterior motives saw this, they would think that he was seducing a Japanese student. Chiba Haomu's brother naturally has the surname Chiba as well. Fang Yin thought to himself. He felt that the surname was somewhat familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. North Star One Blade Style? These shiny words suddenly popped up in Fang Yan's mind. North Star One Blade Style was a very popular swordsmanship school in Japan during the late Edo period. Its founder was Chiba Shusaku, the first master of the Chiba family and the founder of North Star One Blade Style. North Star One Blade Style set up the Black Martial Dojo in Nyanbashi, Edo. Together with Kishin Mishiryu's Scholar Gakuen Dojo and Shin Noryu's Warrior Training Dojo, they were known as the three great dojos of Edo. Didn't that old drunkard and his family specifically mention North Star One Blade Style when he was explaining the world of swordsmanship? Their founder's surname was Chiba. So what relationship did Chiba Haomu and her brother have with the Chiba family? Chapter 84. Fang Yan's guess was right. Chiba Karu and Chiba Haomu were really siblings, and they were indeed the descendants of Chiba Josua. The North Star Ito Ryu was a famous Japanese sword technique that had been passed down for hundreds of years. As a girl, Chiba Kaori was more inclined to enjoy the visual and sensory aspects of the tea ceremony. Chiba Takashi was a male descendant of the Chiba family. He had been trained by the family in swordsmanship and physical fitness since he was young. Both of them studied at Warren High School, a famous private school in Japan. Both of them were well-known figures in the school. Chiba Kaori was gentle, beautiful, and had an outstanding temperament. She was also the president of the school's tea ceremony club. She was the undisputed goddess of the school. Her status in Warren Senior High School was similar to that of Chin Ichian in Rosefinch. As for Chiba Haomu, he was adorable and skilled in swordsmanship. He was very popular with both boys and girls, and he had a group of hardcore supporters. This time, Saburo Fujino had taken the initiative to issue a challenge. Additionally, he had declared that he wanted to compete with Fang Yin in the way of tea, calligraphy, and fencing. Truth be told, he had dug a big hole for Fang Yin. Saburo Fujino had a clear understanding of the strength of his team members. They had a world-class team master, a calligraphy master, and a kendo expert. If they were to compete in these three areas, wouldn't they be able to win 3 out of 3 matches? They would be able to trample Hua Xia's team into the mud, leaving not even their bones behind. He did not guess the beginning correctly, nor could he guess the ending correctly. Chiba Kaori, whom he had high hopes for, had lost. Ueno Nobita had also lost. Now, he had placed all his hopes on Chiba Haomu. Teacher, Chiba Takashi stood before Saburo Fujino. Saburo Fujino patted Chiba Haomu's shoulder. He wanted to say something, but there was an inexplicable sadness in his heart. After a long while, he calmed down a little and said in a deep voice, "Please win." Chiba Haomu nodded with a smile and said, "I understand, teacher." Chiba Haomu understood. All the members of the Wu Rin inspection team understood. They had already lost 2 rounds. If they lost the last round as well, then they would be shaved bald by Hua Xia. This was a great humiliation. Hence, the other students of Wu Rin University gathered around them. Good martial arts, good luck. Good fight. You must win. Shinya is good at martial arts. We believe in you. Chiba Sun walked up to Chiba Haomu and smiled silently. Just do your best. No, sister, I want to win. Chiba Haomu also smiled. His smile was as bright as the sun. What an adorable boy. Win back what you lost. The smile on Chiba Kaori's face gradually faded. She seriously looked into Chiba Haomu's eyes and said, "Little brother, don't mess around. This is war," Chiba Haomu said. "Sister, there must be a winner and a loser in a war. If it wasn't like that, then the battle between martial artists would have lost its meaning." But, sister, no buts. Our family motto is courage and wisdom. Without hesitation, Saburo Fujino looked at Fong Yin and asked, Teacher Fong Yin, our team members have stepped forward. How long are you going to hide your contestants? Hua. A wooden door was pushed open from the inside. Tang Cheng, dressed in a white Taoist robe, walked out with a wooden sword in his hand. He said in a clear voice, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Clatter. The students of Rosefinch Secondary immediately applauded. Tang Cheng is so handsome. His outfit is really not bad, as expected of the school honk. I can't help but admire him. I knew it was Tang Cheng. I heard that Tang Cheng's kung fu is very powerful. It had to be said that this kid, Tang Cheng, was praised by the girls of Rosefinch Secondary as the school honk. He really did have some skill, not to mention his dazzling results and outstanding skills. Just the way he walked out in the white Taoist robe of the Taekwondo club while holding a wooden sword gave people the feeling of a handsome and elegant young man. His slender figure, exquisite facial features, and the natural arrogance he exuded made him really attractive to young girls. Fong Yin walked in front of Tang Cheng and said with a smile, Have you thought it through? I didn't come for you, Tang Cheng said. If you think that I'm participating in this competition because of you, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. It doesn't matter who you came for. As long as you stand here today, you'll be my good student. Fong Yin patted Tang Cheng's shoulder. Tang Cheng frowned. In the end, he did not slap away Fong Yin's restless palm in front of everyone. The members of both sides were in place. Tang Cheng had already changed his attire and was ready to fight. Fong Yin looked at Saburo Fujino and said, Let your team members go in and change their clothes. Saburo Fujino said a few words to Chiba Haomu. Chiba Haomu nodded and followed Luo Yi to the changing room where the new Taoist robes were prepared. When Chiba Haomu came out wearing a black Taoist robe and holding a wooden sword of his choice, the match was about to begin. Luo Yi was the president of the Taekwondo club and the only judge for this competition. Fencing was different from other competitions. The winner and loser were clear at a glance. Therefore, there was no need for too many judges to vote. Luo Yi stood between the two of them and said in English that they could understand, Do you want to wear protective gear? Both Tang Cheng and Chiba Haomu shook their heads and refused. They did not have the habit of wearing protective gear. Since both sides have chosen not to wear protective gear, then I would like to propose 3 rules. First, you're not allowed to stab your opponent's vital parts. Second, the winning side is not allowed to kill anyone. Most importantly, when I say stop, you must stop immediately. He was afraid that the two of them would fight to the death. If that happened, things would become difficult to deal with. Although they were both using wooden swords, their fists could kill people. Not to mention, the wooden swords in the hands of these experts were not much different from real iron swords. Both Tang Cheng and Chiba Haomu nodded to show that they understood. Luo Yi took 3 steps back and said, Members from both sides, salute. Tang Cheng and Chiba Haomu bowed to each other and performed the traditional etiquette. Ready, Luo Yi shouted. After the two of them had finished their preparations, Luo Yi shouted, Ready. Chiba Haomu was dressed in a black robe. He raised the wooden sword in his hand high, as though he wanted to cleave his opponent from head to toe. This was his usual starting stance, and it was also the stance that could best showcase his swordsmanship. Moreover, this move of his had a very famous name. It was called Silent Victory. The so-called silent duel meant that after the battle began, the victor would be decided before the bamboo blades in their hands struck each other. The other party didn't even have the chance to hit their own side, much less win. This move was imparted to the famous swordsman Takanagi Asashiro. Takanagi Asashiro was Chiba Haomu's opponent, but Chiba Haomu liked Takanagi Asashiro's fighting style very much. He had especially learned it. Tang Cheng was dressed in white. He looked relaxed and casual as he sized up the Rosefinch secondary team. The match was about to begin, but Qin Etienne hadn't arrived yet. This made him feel both regretful and disappointed. One had to know that before he decided to participate in this competition, he had specially sent a message to Qin Etienne. Could it be that Qin Etienne's phone ran out of battery and was powered off? There were 3 ways to attack in Sword Dao: Killer Sword, killer move, and killing aura. Chiba Haomu's killing intent was released as he was ready to strike. His adorable face turned serious, and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. He looked at Tangsheng with killing intent. He was only waiting for an opportunity to kill in one strike. At this moment, Chiba Haomu was cold, completely different from the image he usually gave others. If the usual Chiba Haowu was an innocent and cute bunny, the current Chiba Haowu was like a wolf on the hunt. Qin Etian wasn't here, so the battle still had to continue. Tangsheng was amused when he saw Chiba Haomu's expression. This kid is quite serious. He looks like he wants to kill someone. When the corners of Tangsheng's mouth curled up, Chiba Haomu's chance had arrived. This was because he knew very well that when a person smiled, it was also when they were at their most relaxed. When a mood was relaxed, the body would naturally relax. This was the perfect time to defeat his opponent. Chiba Haomu slashed out with his sword, and the wind whistled like a flute. This was the sound of the bamboo, sword cutting through the air. The sword hilt and blade were burning hot, as if they were about to be burned. When an expert made a move, it was obvious whether he was skilled or not. The speed of the sword, the strong airflow caused by the friction in the air, and the aura that enveloped his entire body were enough to make people's hearts tremble. An expert. This guy was definitely an expert. Moreover, he wasn't an expert in the field of student fights. He wasn't the president of the Taekwondo club, nor was he the number one in watching. His opponent was a professional, an adult, and an expert with sharp sword skills that could kill. Tangsheng was born into a family of armed escorts, and there were also experts in his family who practiced swordsmanship. The way they drew their swords was exactly the same as the one in front of him. In fact, after experiencing it for himself, this Japanese boy who smiled shyly just now was even more powerful. Tangsheng raised his sword to meet the attack. Crack! The two swords collided, and the wooden sword in Tangsheng's hand broke into two. Although both swords were wooden, one was the attacker, and the other was the interceptor. One side had accumulated enough strength and momentum, while the other only wanted to block the attack. The T had spirit, and the sword had murderous intent. Chiba Haomu's wooden sword had murderous intent, while Tangsheng's didn't. Intent against intent, murderous intent against no murderous intent, and the one without murderous intent was naturally not a match for the other. Chiba Haomu seemed to have predicted this scene. After he broke the wooden sword in Tangsheng's hand, he didn't retract his sword force, nor did he release his sword energy. The sword continued to slash downwards, aiming straight for Tangsheng's head. "Don't!" The crowd shouted loudly. Some of the more timid girls couldn't help but close their eyes. They didn't dare to watch the tragedy that was about to happen. With Chiba Haomu's current momentum, if Tangsheng's head was hit, it would definitely be split in half. Chapter 85. Wielding a killing sword in his hand, his intent was to kill the hearts of others. Chiba Haomu had grasped the essence of swordsmanship, learned sword techniques, nurtured killing intent, and was known as a high-level swordsman. At such a young age, he was able to attain such a level of attainment in swordsmanship. This was truly an amazing feat as expected of someone from a famed swordsmanship sect. With hundreds and thousands of years of experience, it was only natural for them to have a complete set of methods to cultivate high-quality talents. In this era, not only did they need to rely on their fathers, they also needed to rely on their grandfathers. This caused Fong Yin to become extremely furious. If even birth was unequal, what fairness could there be in this world? After thinking about his own life experience, the anger within Fong Yan's heart gradually dissipated. There were some things that they could not decide on. He himself felt quite helpless about it. After cutting down the wooden sword in Tangsheng's hand, Chiba Haomu's sword momentum did not dissipate. Instead, he increased his speed and pursued after Tangsheng's head. If he were to land a direct hit, Tangsheng's head would likely be cut into two, just like the wooden sword. "Don't!" The spectators cried out. Even Saburo, Fujino, Matsushima Ki, and the others were terrified. Although they wanted to win this match, They had no intention of injuring the students of the Fellowship Academy. If something were to happen to the students of Rosefinch Secondary, they would not be able to answer to their superiors when they return. Naturally, whether or not they would be able to return was a question that they would have to consider. Fang Yin frowned. This kid's swordsmanship is not bad, but his killing intent is too heavy. His sword move was a simple one. From the moment he cut down Tongqing's wooden sword to the moment he aimed for Tongqing's head, he did not change his move at all. However, his attack was faster and more ferocious. It appeared as though he would not rest until he managed to cut down Tongqing. Although Fang Yin did not have a good impression of Chiba Haomu, he did not shout out to stop him. He had tested out Tongqing's strength. If Tongqing could not dodge this attack, then he would be too disappointing. Mentality. The most important thing was one's mentality. If Tongqing remained indifferent, then Shinya Haowu would undoubtedly be the winner of this duel. Luoi did not exercise the referee's right to stop the match. Originally, he had a cynical attitude, thinking that this was just a child's game. It was really boring. Luo, Yi, and Tongqing were friends, so he was quite clear about Tongqing's skills. If it weren't for the fact that Tongqing didn't like these troublesome things, the Taekwondo dojo would have been overturned by him countless times. He had sparred with Tongqing before, so he knew how big the gap between him and Tongqing was. He was just a hobby, but Tongqing was a professional. If the swordsmen chosen by the East Asians were not strong enough, they wouldn't even be able to cut vegetables for Tongqing. It wasn't until Chiba Haomu's sword cut straight at Tongqing's head that he felt a little burned. This was how war should be. Tongqing did not disappoint Fang Yin and Luo Yi's expectations. At the beginning, he was a little careless. Compared with the opponent standing in front of him, he was more concerned about whether Qin Yitian came to watch his match. Of course, it was necessary to defeat his opponent. He just hoped that when he defeated his opponent, his goddess, Qin Yitian, happened to be watching from the side. When he defeated his opponent, Qin Yitian could say, Tongqing is so handsome, or smile sweetly at him. Just a smile was enough. However, Qin Yitian did not show up at the match. This made him feel extremely disappointed. When he was in a bad mood, he couldn't help but feel a little down. When he saw the serious look on his opponent's face, he felt a little funny. It was also at this time that Chiba Haowu launched an attack. When Tongqing's wooden sword broke, he was lost for a moment. Before his brain could react, his body had already made the necessary response. He gripped the broken hilt with his right hand and used the hard hilt to block Chiba Haowu's wooden sword. His left hand had already grabbed the broken slender sword that had yet to fall to the ground. Clang! Tongqing's wrist strength was amazing. When he blocked Chiba Haowu's slash with one hand, his left hand grabbed the wooden sword and stabbed it at Chiba Haowu's abdomen. When these two guys fought, they would not stop until one of them died. Chiba Haowu knew that he had met an expert with extremely strong reflexes, so his sword would be useless. He retracted his sword and retreated. Only then did the distance between the two widen. Chiba Haowu gripped his sword with both hands again and raised it high above his head. Tongqing looked at the broken sword in his hand with a serious expression. His eyes also became unprecedentedly serious. They knew that his opponent was an expert worthy of respect. Tongqing, do you want to change your sword? Luo Yi asked. He was the referee, so he was naturally willing to make things easier for Tongqing. Luo Yi could also see that Chiba Haowu was very powerful. If Tongqing kept using a broken sword, he might really be taken advantage of by this Japanese. Tongqing shook his head. No need. If he doesn't change his sword, I won't either. Be careful, Luo Yi warned. He didn't force the issue. Tongqing threw the broken sword in his left hand to the ground, leaving only the broken sword in his right hand. The wooden sword split down the middle. Part of it fell off, while the other part remained on the hilt. Thus, the sword hilt became a sharp dagger. Using a short sword against a long sword would definitely be disadvantageous in terms of distance and gravity. However, as long as Tongqing could get close to Chiba Haowu and attack him at close range, the long sword in Chiba Haowu's hand would become a burden. Clang! The two charged at the same time. Chiba Haowu did the same thing as before, slashing down with 180 degrees of gravity. The difference was that he was faster, and the angle of his attack was more strange and tricky, making it difficult to guard against. Tang Cheng dodged to the side, the short sword in his hand stabbing toward Chiba Haowu's left ribs. So, the long sword in Chiba Haowu's hand quickly changed from a heavy slash to a horizontal slash, slashing toward Tang Cheng's neck. Tang Cheng's steps were graceful, and his body had already moved out of the attack range of the wooden sword. Both of them were young and full of vigor, wanting to win this match. Chiba Haowu's advantage lay in his speed and ruthlessness, while Tang Cheng's advantage lay in his agility and steadiness. The two of them fought with speed, and the flashes of their swords and blades dazzled the onlookers. Fang Yin glanced at Saburo Fujino, who was standing beside him, and found that he was staring at Tang Cheng with a surprised look on his face. Clearly, he didn't expect that a random student that Fang Yin had found would have such ability. He was actually able to fight invincible Wu Ren's Chiba Haowu to a draw. Originally, he thought that Chun Xiaoyan was scheming against him. Could it be that Chun Xiaoyan wanted to make him sad again? Saburo Fujino noticed that Fang Yin was looking at him and asked in a whisper, "This student, is he Rosefinch's student?" Of course. Fang Yin nodded his head with absolute certainty. "His name is Tang Cheng. You can take a look at the list of students in our class." As Fang Yin spoke, he pulled out a list from his pocket. Pointing at number 42, Tang Cheng, he said, "That's him. He's the last one." Saburo Fujino's small eyes began to spin. Could it be that he had deliberately added Tang Cheng's name on the list in order to deal with my inspection? "I know what you were suspecting." As Fang Yin spoke, he pulled out a student ID card from his pocket and said, "Look, this is student Tang Cheng's student ID card." Saburo Fujino accepted the student ID card and inspected it. It was indeed Tang Cheng's photo. His name and other information were all authentic. But isn't this student ID card a little too new? Did it just get done? It was true that Tang Cheng's student ID card had just been completed. He had been transferred from Class 1 to Class 9. Naturally, he needed to report it to the school. The school would also need to issue a new student ID card for him. Fang Yin knew that Saburo Fujino was a paranoid person. Be it Qin Yitian, Xiao Pinqing, or Tang Cheng, any one of these students would be an outstanding talent. How could they just happen to be in Class 9? Thus, Fang Yin had made preparations in advance. He had brought along the relevant ID cards of these students. Weren't you suspicious? You were welcome to check it out. Of course, this time, it was fortunate that Qin Yitian had been transferred to Class 9 in advance because of him. As for Tang Cheng, he had been transferred to Class 9 in order to follow Qin Yitian. Without the help of these two experts, Fang Yin would not have so easily agreed to compete with the Wu Ren inspection team in the way of tea and fencing. In the past, the school would let the students of Class 1 be in charge of receiving inspection teams from outside the school. A straw in the wind. From the performance of Qin Yitian and Tang Cheng, Class 1 was indeed full of talents and elites. What Fang Yin did not know was that Qin Yitian and Tang Cheng were originally the top 3 students in Class 1. They were elites that the teachers of Class 1 treated like treasures. The two of them skipped Class 1 after the other, causing Class 1's teacher in charge to be heartbroken. He hated Fang Yin to the core. If it were not for Lu Chaoga speaking up for Fang Yin, Class 1's teacher in charge would have long since jumped out and thrown a pair of white gloves at Fang Yin's face. "It was just done," Fang Yin answered honestly. The smile on Saburo Fujino's face grew wider, and he said, "Then, is there such a possibility? Tang Cheng was not originally a student in your class. Is he a student from another class or school? For the sake of this competition, did you specially invite him over?" Fang Yin looked at Saburo Fujino with a smile and said, "Fujino-sensei's questioning expression is truly amusing. Like a cute woman." "Teacher Fang Yin, what do you mean by that?" Saburo Fujino stared at Fang Yin warily. This fellow could not possibly have that kind of hobby, right? "I'm a decent person. I have heard that there are 2 types of women. Those who are good-looking but unreasonable, and those who are not good-looking but unreasonable. I feel that Teacher Fujino is very similar to the second type of woman." "Fang Yin," Saburo Fujino was truly furious. He could still accept being called a woman. However, calling him an ugly woman was beyond the limits of what he could accept. Teacher Fujino, are you a sore loser? Fang Yin asked with a straight face. Chapter 86. Who is a sore loser? Saburo Fujino was like a rabbit that had its tail stepped on as he screamed out. If that is not the case, why would Teacher Fujino keep picking on such minor flaws? I cannot help but suspect that Teacher Fujino is looking for an excuse for his own failure. Fang Yin sneered. Seeing the two clowns bickering again, Lu Chaoga gave them a glance before turning her attention back to the intense battle taking place in the middle of the arena. Matsushima Ki shook his head. He was helpless against these two fellows. I am afraid that you will cheat, Saburo Fujino said with confidence. This is your territory. Who knows what kind of arrangements you will make in order to win? This is a classic example of measuring the heart of a gentleman with one's own yardstick, Fang Yin said with a ridiculing tone. Did anyone invite you to listen in on Class 9? Saburo Fujino thought about it. Back then, Vice Principal Matsushima Ki was the one who suggested a listen in on Class 9. When Matsushima Ki saw that Fang Yin was able to become Rosefinch's language teacher at such a young age, he became curious and suggested a listen in on Class 9. In other words, it was a random inspection and no one had arranged for it. No, Saburo Fujino said. Who suggested the tea ceremony, calligraphy, and fencing competitions? It was me. If that is the case, shouldn't I be the one questioning the school's deliberate arrangements? Why are you questioning us? Fang Yin said with a chuckle. He pointed at Chiba Karu, Ueno Nobita, and Chiba Halmu, who was brandishing his sword. Do you dare swear to all the deities of the two countries that they are not the candidates that you have arranged in advance? Or is it because you already knew that there was such an expert in your team? That's why you deliberately proposed these 3 competitions? Our school has many talents. It is not just these 3 competitions, Saburo Fujino said stubbornly. He was not willing to admit that he had planned this out, and the result was a painful truth. Is that so? Then, shall we add 3 more competitions? Fang Yin said with a smile. Saburo Fujino did not dare to agree. Rosefinch had won 2 of the 3 matches he had arranged in advance. If Rosefinch proposed a competition, would they still have a chance of winning? It was one thing for others to humiliate him, but did he have to humiliate himself as well? What? Are you unwilling? I don't have enough time to arrange it. Saburo Fujino finally found a plausible excuse. We're going back tomorrow. A student's homework cannot be delayed. You see, you have all taken advantage of us, but Fujino-sensei is still suspicious of us. If you really think that there's something wrong with the 3 students I've chosen, their student files and information are all in the school's archives. You can check them at any time. This can't be faked, right? However, I'd like to ask, are the 20 students from the Warren delegation all in the same class? Naturally not, Saburo Fujino replied. We are selecting based on merit. It's the same every year. This is Wu Ren's rule. Exactly. You will select outstanding students from the entire school or even the entire country to form a team. We are only selecting students from Warren High School to be sent out, Saburo Fujino corrected, who selected students from all over the country to participate in the competition. Was there a need for that? Who knows what happened to you all in Japan? I have no way of checking their student IDs and files. Fang Yin waved his hand. Saburo Fujino felt as though he had been stabbed in the chest. The feeling of being drenched in blood. You are sending outstanding students from all over the country to compete against students from the same class. Do you feel guilty for doing this? Fang Yin said with righteous indignation. Although we know that this is unfair to us, we did not refuse. Why? Because we consider you all as our guests, our close comrades. But Fujino-sensei, how did you treat us? Is this how East Asians treat their friends? I'm sorry. Saburo Fujino was deeply moved, and he blurted out those 3 words. After saying those words, Saburo Fujino reacted. Why did I have to apologize to him? This fellow's stomach is full of evil tricks. Who knows which of his words is the truth and which is the lie? Fujino-sensei, you are able to recognize your own mistakes and be a narrow-minded person. Moreover, you are willing to sincerely apologize to me. Fang Yin held Saburo Fujino's hand and said with a sincere face, I will consider accepting your offer. As the two of them were bickering, the battle between Chiba Haomu and Tangcheng had reached its climax. Luo Yi followed closely behind Chiba Haomu and Tangcheng, shouting incessantly. Occasionally, he would even shout out words like good sword, despicable sword. It was as though he was the one participating in the battle. The baby-faced Chiba Haomu had entered a berserk state. His hair was disheveled and his eyes were sharp. The black Taoist robes he wore fluttered in the wind. Every step he took forward or backward would cause the wind to howl. He had inherited the essence of a North Star one-blade style. His sword attacks were simple, but the angles were strange. Every one of his sword attacks was aimed at the vital spots of his opponent. Add that to his ghostly speed when moving at full speed, it was impossible to defend against his attacks. Tangcheng's deep foundation came in handy at this moment. He was able to deal with a myriad of changes by remaining unchanging. His body was tall, and his movements were slow. Standing there, he was like a target, allowing Chiba Haomu to attack him from all directions, making him extremely busy. Tangcheng changed his strategy. Originally, he had wanted to fight Chiba Haomu with speed and end the battle in the shortest amount of time possible. That way, he would look more handsome. However, when he found that he could not defeat Chiba Haomu in a short amount of time and that Chiba Haomu was better at speed than him, he knew that something was amiss. Rhythm. Everyone had their own unique rhythm. This was also the rhythm that they were best at. Chiba Haomu liked speed, but Tangcheng's foundation was solid. Additionally, his swordsmanship was methodical, making it more suitable for him to stay still. He could not follow Chiba Haomu's rhythm. He wanted to control the rhythm himself. Or rather, he wanted to make full use of his own rhythm. Thus, it became a situation where one was fast on the offense and the other was slow on the defense. It was precisely because both of them made full use of what they were good at that the battle was so exciting. Dash! The long sword in his hand swung down with great force, aiming for Tangcheng's face. Tangcheng blocked the attack with his short dagger. He took a few steps forward and directly crashed into Chiba Haomu's chest. Chiba Haomu's sword was raised in the air. His chest was empty, and he lost control of his inner line. However, he changed his moves extremely quickly and viciously. Whoosh! The wooden sword in his hand made a 180-degree turn. Initially, the tip of the sword was pointing outwards, but when he hooked his wrist, the tip of the sword stabbed at Tangcheng, who was in his arms. To an onlooker, it was almost a suicidal move. If he was holding a real sword in his hand, then when he stabbed Tangcheng's body, it would be inevitable that he would also stab himself. However, he knew the characteristics of a wooden sword very well. He knew the weight of the sword and the speed at which he attacked, and what kind of damage he would inflict on his opponent. Clang! Tangcheng once again blocked the tip of the long sword with the hilt of the sword and slammed his elbow backward. Chiba Haomu had two choices now. He could either endure the elbow attack and persist in stabbing his long sword into Tangcheng's chest, or he could dodge the elbow attack, and his suicidal attack will be nullified at the same time. Chiba Haomu chose the former. In a battle where both sides were evenly matched, the only thing left to do was to make a choice. A smart person would kill 1,000 enemies at the cost of 800 of himself, while a fool would kill 800 enemies at the cost of 1,000 injuries. Victory and defeat would be decided in this way. He could withstand the elbow attack, but he believed that Tangcheng would not be able to withstand the full force of his piercing technique. Ugh! Chiba Haomu grunted. His upper body fell backwards, but his lower body was unusually stable. Creak! The tip of the long sword in his hand moved forward with unstoppable force, grinding against the hilt. The tip of the sword inched closer to Tangcheng's chest. As long as it pierced through, Tangcheng would instantly lose the ability to fight. Of course, he would lose the ability to fight forever. Ah! A miserable scream rang out. The wooden sword in Chiba Haomu's hand fell to the ground. He clutched his abdomen with his right hand and staggered backward. Plop! His body fell on the wooden floor with a hideous expression. His forehead was dripping with sweat, and he looked like he was in extreme pain. Tang Cheng stood still and sneered at Chiba Haomu, who was sitting on the ground. The sword hilt that he had been holding in his left hand to block the tip of the sword had been transferred to his right hand, and red blood was seeping out from the blade. Chiba Haomu! A group of people rushed over and surrounded Chiba Haomu. Saburo Fujino rushed to the front of Tang Cheng and roared, "Kid, you bastard! What did you do to him? What did you do to him?" Chiba Kori's face was covered in tears as she cried, "Haomu, little brother, are you okay? How do you feel?" Matsushima Nori was a beat too slow to squeeze into the middle of the crowd. Her expression was ugly as she stared sharply at Liu Chaoga and said, "If anything happens to my student, we will definitely seek justice." Liu Chaoga calmly looked at Matsushima Nori and said, "We also don't want this to happen. Of course, I will respect any choice you make." Tang Cheng walked to the front of Fong Yin and threw the sword hilt in his hand to the ground. He said in a free and easy manner, "I won." After saying that, he turned around and left. "Be careful," someone shouted. Chiba Haomu, who was lying on the ground a moment ago, jumped up and stabbed the sword in his hand at Tang Cheng's back. This kid's eyes were bloodshot. Chapter 87. Tang Cheng walked away proudly and carefreely. He was proud of the fact that he had just won a match. Moreover, it was a very good match. Although Qin Etienne didn't get to see it with his own eyes, he had won in front of Fong Yin. Let's see if this guy still dares to belittle and bully me like this in the future. Free and easy was the image he always presented to others. As the most handsome guy in Vermilion Bird Middle School, he needed to put on airs at all times to be a good spokesperson. This was just a match between students, and he really didn't want to think too much about it. A loss was a loss, and a win was a win. Now that the outcome had been decided, what was there to argue about? However, what Tang Cheng didn't expect was that Chiba Haomu didn't give up just because he thought that the match was over. While a group of people surrounded him and looked at him with concern, Chiba Haomu grabbed the wooden sword on the ground and jumped up, thrusting the tip of the long sword at Tang Cheng's back. He couldn't accept this. He couldn't lose. He wanted to prove to his compatriots and himself that he was invincible. It happened so suddenly that Tang Cheng wasn't prepared at all. When he heard someone shouting behind him, he turned around in surprise. He couldn't believe that Chiba Haomu still dared to stab someone with his sword after the match was over. Thus, Chiba Haomu's sword that was originally aimed at his back became his heart. Anyone who had watched Animal World would know that when an animal struggled on its deathbed, it could explode with shocking, destructive power. When a swordsman was determined to win, he could also perform beyond his usual level. Great sword chi technique. Great sword chi technique. His movements were graceful and ruthless, and his speed was as fast as lightning. He had just jumped up, and in the blink of an eye, he was already in front of Tang Cheng. The long sword closed an inch by inch, and was about to pierce a large hole in Tang Cheng's chest. Tang Cheng felt the sharp, killing intent, and his body tensed up. It was a natural reaction when facing extreme danger. There was a burning pain in his chest, which was caused by the sword chi that had attacked him first. Asterisk hiss. Asterisk the oxygen in the air rubbed against the lightning-fast wooden sword, producing a hissing sound. That was the sound of the air being stimulated and ignited. The wooden sword was too hot, and the tip of the sword was scorching hot. It looked like it was about to catch fire. After practicing swordsmanship for more than 10 years, this was the best sword thrust Chinya Haomu had ever performed. This was his highest level. This was a realm he had never reached before. Today, he did it. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were bloodshot. He was laughing. It was a ferocious and joyous smile. For this sword that he had thrust out with the highest level, Tang Cheng was dumbfounded. If this was a battlefield, if it was a formal battle just now, With his ability, he could definitely make the most exquisite and accurate reaction or counterattack. However, at this moment, he was a loss. What was this? Were they going to continue fighting? Or would they fight to the death? However, what was the attitude of the school? Could he do that? Why? His pupils dilated, and his heart was in a mess. Asterisk chi. Asterisk, he felt the tip of the sword pierce through his clothes. The wooden sword was about to continue forward, piercing through his flesh and organs. Everything it encountered, even his bones. Shinya Hao felt it too. There was only one focus in his eyes, and that was where the tip of the sword was. He felt the sound of a sharp sword piercing through something. It was a clear and melodious sound that seemed to come from the depths of his soul. Such a voice filled him with fighting spirit and a sense of accomplishment. Tang Chung retreated and retreated again. However, how could this aimless retreating speed compare to Shinya Hao's flying speed? Kill! Shinya Hao roared. As he roared, his dantian was full of chi, allowing him to fly faster and more nimbly in the air. All of a sudden, the entire scene underwent a drastic change. Tang Chung was still retreating out of habit, while Shinya Hao's body stopped in the air. The difference between these two extremes was strange and distorted. No matter how hard he tried, the sword could not move forward. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched this unbelievable scene unfold before them. A gust of wind blew, fluttering Shinya Hao's black robes, Tongqing's white robes, and Fong Yan's soft hair. It was still alive. Everything was alive. It was just that Fong Yan, the Time Magician, had a little control over it. Fong Yan's body was tilted, one hand holding onto Shinya Hao's ankle. He had not used his other hand yet. When Chiba Hao passed by Fong Yan, the only thing he could do was to turn around 180 degrees and grab at the same time, seeing that he had the situation under control and that Tang Chung had not been pierced by Shinya Hao's sword. Fong Yan finally felt relieved. If someone had died, everyone present would not be able to escape responsibility. Whether it was Liu Chaoga, Matsushima Ki, Saburo Fujino, or himself, all of the teachers would face serious charges. Shinya Hao, for the sake of victory, to satisfy his own selfish desires, he had disregarded the lives of others and the future of a large group of teachers. This narrow-minded madman, this bloodthirsty demon. Fong Yan was enraged. Shinya Hao's actions had thoroughly enraged him. Fong Yan's right hand pulled hard, and Shinya Hao's body flew back. Shinya Hao stabbed back with his sword, but Fong Yan's left hand shot out like lightning and punched his wrist. Clang! Shinya Hao felt pain in his arm, and the wooden sword fell to the ground. After using the power of Tai Chi to dissipate the remaining power in his body, Shinya Hao became Fong Yan's meat target. He grabbed Shinya Hao's calf with one hand, and with his left foot as the axis, he kicked with his right foot. His body immediately spun, and Shinya Hao's body, which was still in the air, spun with him. Fong Yan's right foot kicked again, and they spun even faster. Thousand-faced spinning top. At first, Fong Yan needed to borrow external force, but when their bodies spun at a certain speed, Fong Yan became the axis, and Shinya Hao became the pendulum. Now, Shinya Hao's body was dragging Fong Yan to spin. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Everyone could only hear the whistling wind, like an electric fan spinning at a high frequency. In the beginning, they could still see Fong Yan's cold face and Shinya Hao's frightened eyes. Soon, they became a shadow of the wind. They were standing in front of you, but you couldn't see them clearly. They had countless faces swaying in front of you, and your eyes couldn't take them in. This time, it was the people around them who were worried about Shinya Hao. Let go of Shinya Hao. Let go of him, Fong Yan. What are you doing? Principal Liu, ask your teacher to let go of him. Liu Chaoga's face was as cold as frost, and she said in a cold voice, My students are rational, and so is my teacher. I have full confidence in them. Liu Chaoga was fighting back. I have confidence in my teacher and students, but do you have the same confidence? If you have confidence in your students, then what kind of behavior did the scene that just happened in front of your eyes belong to? Matsushima Nori was speechless, and after a long time, he said, "We have to find a gentler solution." Chiba Haowu was really frightened, and she ran over to grab Matsushima Nori's hand, saying, "Principal, please save Chinya Haowu. Please save Chinya Ho." Matsushima Nori glanced at Fong Yin, who was still spinning in circles, and shook his head, indicating that there was nothing he could do. She couldn't go up and beat up Fong Yin, could she? Chiba Haowu ran to Lu Chaoga and said in English, "Principal, I'd apologize. I know Chinya Haowu. He's too ridiculous, but he's just a child. But he's still a child, please save him. Everyone has to pay the price for doing something wrong," Lu Chaoga said with a straight face. After saying that, she felt that it was a little familiar. Who said that to her? Fong Yin spun faster and faster, as if he had really turned into a spinning top. If the little flags on the Spring Festival Gala were to spin at this speed, they wouldn't even last 10 minutes. When they reached a subtle speed, Fong Yin suddenly let go of Chinya Haowu's ankle. Chinya Haomu was like an arrow that was shot out, flying forward quickly. Before Chiba Haowu could rejoice, she saw Fong Yin running in the direction where Chinya Haowu was flying. Fong Yin ran forward, and when his toes touched the ground, he bounced up and landed without a sound. He was running on the ground, while Chinya Haowu was flying in the air. From a bystander's point of view, it looked like Fong Yin was running with Chinya Haowu on his back. Of course, Fong Yin wasn't running with him on his back. He had other uses for his hands. Bang, bang, bang. His fist shot out like lightning, hitting Chinya Haowu's head, face, chest, abdomen, and every other part of his body that he could reach. With each punch, Chinya Haowu's body would rise and fall at an even faster speed. Fong Yin punched again and sent Chinya Haowu flying higher into the air. The dojo was huge. Fong Yin pulled Chinya Haowu's body from the entrance to the inner wall. Seeing that Chinya Haowu's head was about to hit the wall in front of him, Fong Yin suddenly did a 180-degree handstand. With both hands on the ground, he kicked with his right foot at lightning speed. Bang, what a beautiful shot. Chinya Haowu's body flew high into the roof of the dojo, and then fell at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. Clang! His body fell heavily on the wooden board, and he landed face first on the ground with his butt facing the sky. He didn't move or make a sound for a long time. The entire venue was silent. Everyone stared at Fong Yin with widened eyes. They looked at the handsome and tall man standing in the middle of the dojo. Was he a Superman hidden in the human world? Chapter 88. If you're given the freedom to choose your teacher, what qualities and abilities do you want your teacher to possess? Handsome and confident, someone said. Knowledgeable and knowledgeable, someone else said. Amiable and able to get along well with the students. This was the common wish of the students. There might be 1,000 answers to this question, but not a single student would request for their teacher to know martial arts. Martial arts was one of the traditions of Huaxia and one of the labels of Huaxia's culture. Even some foreigners would praise Huaxia's martial arts. However, how many of them had actually seen it in action? In the eyes of the ordinary students, the fight between Tangsheng and Chiba Haomu had already exceeded their scope of understanding. They felt that it was impossible for something like that to happen. This kind of martial arts was too distant from their lives. However, when Fong Yin suddenly unleashed his universe like a Saint Seiya and threw Chiba Haomu into the air, they looked at Fong Yin as if they were looking at an alien. Was this still the Fong Yin teacher they knew, the one who read poems on the Bird River? Was this still the Fong Yin teacher who led them to the alley to learn Alley in the Rain? Was this still the Fong Yin teacher who was sharp with his words, lively and interesting in class, and looked like the big brother next door? The students were all filled with admiration and worship. Their bodies were trembling, and they were so excited that they could not control themselves. Matsushima Ki's face was filled with shock as he stared at Fong Yin for a long time. He had even temporarily forgotten to check on Chiba Haomu's injuries. Is there anything else I don't know? Lu Chaoga murmured as she looked at Fong Yin's eyes thoughtfully. Although she had not known Fong Yin for long, she believed that she had some understanding of him. Talented, arrogant, quick-witted, and courageous. What she saw today had overturned her understanding of Fong Yin. She knew that the Fong Yin she had seen before was only the tip of the iceberg. What else was he hiding? Saburo Fujino's body was trembling. It was not surprise or admiration, but anger. This bastard, this guy who deserves to be struck by lightning. He has challenged me time and time again. Is this the weak scholar he was talking about? Is this what he meant by being powerless? Saburo Fujino could imagine it. If he had accepted Fong Yan's challenge, even if it was just once, the one lying on the same spot as Chiba Haomu would be him. When he thought of Shinya Haowu, he also thought of the situation they were currently facing. Saburo Fujino quickly rushed over to the spot where Chiba Haomu had fallen. He grabbed Chiba Haomu's shoulder and shook him. Chiba Haomu, how are you? Wake up. Hearing Saburo Fujino shout, the others reacted. Kei Matsushima, Chiba Karu, and the teachers and students of the War Investigation Team gathered around him. They looked at Chiba Haomu's body worriedly. Even now, his eyes were still closed, and he did not move at all. He didn't know what was going on. If you continue to shake him, his bones will fall apart, Fong Yin said coldly. He just couldn't understand why some people would hug and shake someone when they saw someone fainting on the ground. Didn't they know that this kind of action could sometimes kill someone? After the high-intensity exercise earlier, Fong Yin had vented out most of the anger in his heart. He was also a martial artist. Moreover, he was a martial artist with style and morals. After thousands of years, the words martial art moral had been deeply engraved in the blood of every martial artist. Regardless of whether it was a sect or a family, martial artists must first cultivate their morals. If one's morals were not right, one's martial arts would not be pure. Those who learned martial arts and used it to harm others would be known as demons in the past. Now, they would be known as scum. Fong Yin was strict with himself, and he abided by the ancient spirit of martial art moral. Thus, when he saw scum like Chiba Haomu appear, his mood was particularly bad. If such a person was in ancient times, everyone would have the right to punish him. Moreover, the consequences of Chiba Haomu's actions were too serious. He only wanted to win. He only wanted to stab out with his sword. If he were to succeed, how would they end up? How would Rosefinch Secondary end up? How would his dearest, most respected, and most beloved Liu Chaoga end up? For a moment, Fong Yan's rationality was overshadowed by his anger. He gulped down a mouthful of saliva with the smell of blood. Thus, he spun, chased, and sent him flying with a kick. Only by doing so would his heart feel better. Hearing Fong Yan's words, Fujino Saburo quickly loosened his grip on Chiba Haomu's shoulder. Fong Yin, Fujino Saburo shouted at Fong Yin. Fujino-sensei, do you want to reason with me? Fong Yin stared at Fujino Saburo with a sharp gaze and spoke in an unfriendly tone. Fujino Saburo was a little afraid of Fong Yin. Teacher Fong Yin. Matsushima Ki's voice was calm. However, it was clearly more intimidating compared to Fujino Saburo's shout. What happened to Chiba Haomu? If anything happens to him, you will bear all the responsibility. If he does not die, I will bear all the responsibility. If he dies, the school will bear all the responsibility, Fong Yin sneered. Similarly, if anything happens to my student, you will also bear all the responsibility. Fong Yin turned to look at Tang Cheng and asked, You have not fainted yet? What? Tang Cheng looked at Fong Yin with a confused expression. So many things had happened so suddenly that he was still in a daze. Wasn't it just a friendly match? How did it end up like this? Don't you feel dizzy and your internal organs are on fire? Don't you feel like you are about to faint? Fong Yin asked. Only then did Tang Cheng understand. He clutched his chest and shouted, My heart is in so much pain. I cannot take it anymore. I cannot take it anymore. Plop. Tang Cheng shamelessly lay down at the entrance of the building. His posture was very unsightly. Fong Yin pointed at Tang Cheng, who was lying on the floor, and said angrily, This was originally a match to deepen our understanding and friendship. Our side has always adhered to the principle of friendship first, competition second. We have always been respectful and modest, courteous and restrained. What did you do? Ambushing someone when the match is already over. What kind of behavior is that? This is a shameful behavior, a shameless behavior. Chiba Haomu's sneak attack caused our team member to be seriously injured, and he is currently unconscious. If anything happens to Tang Chung, we will use the most severe and violent means to demand justice. Rosefinch is not someone that can be bullied so easily. Saburo Fujino and Ki Matsushima exchanged glances and understood the meaning behind those words. Fake injuries. They knew that Tang Chung had deliberately lied down on the floor and his injuries were not that serious. However, if they insisted that Chiba Haomu's sneak attack caused Tang Chung to be seriously injured and that he was still unconscious, there was nothing they could do. They could not just run to the sickbed and point at Tang Chung and shout that he was faking injuries and that he was actually fine. Whether his body was injured or not, they could easily find out. Whether his head was injured or not, how could they be sure? Ki Matsushima looked at Lu Chaoga, implying that she needed to make a decision on this matter. After all, this happened in Rosefinch's territory. Lu Chaoga looked at Fong Yin and said, "Send the injured team member to the hospital for treatment?" Fong Yin nodded and said, "Of course." However, this matter is not over. When Tang Chung opened his eyes, only Fong Yin was sitting beside him. The others had all left. Tang Chung's injuries were not serious, but they were not light either. Although Chiba Haomu's sword did not pierce through his body, it did cut his flesh. If Fong Yin had not grabbed Chiba Haomu's ankle, the consequences would have been terrible. In addition, he had exercised too much in the afternoon. As he was undergoing one checkup after another, he unknowingly fell asleep. When he woke up again, his exhaustion disappeared and he felt much better. "Don't be so fast," Fong Yin said. "If Chiba Haomu is unconscious for 1 day, you'll be unconscious for 2 days. If Chiba Haomu is lying here for half a year, you'll be lying here for half a year and a day. We must endure longer than them." "There's no need to do this, right?" Tang Chung said with a bitter face. If what Fong Yin said was true, Chiba Haomu would not recover after half a year. Would he really have to spend half a year on the sickbed? He felt that he would go crazy. Moreover, how could he pursue Qin Etienne while lying on the sickbed? If Qin Etienne was snatched away by another boy while he was lying on the sickbed, who would be responsible? He was a boy with dreams and goals. There were too many things for him to consider. "Who am I?" Fong Yin pointed at his face and asked. "Fong Yin." Tang Chung looked at Fong Yin with a puzzled expression. What is wrong with this guy? Did he not even know who he was? "Teacher, the language teacher of Class 9. "No, I am your savior," Fong Yin said. "You have to admit that if I did not save you today, you would not have the chance to open your eyes and see me. You would not have the right to breathe the air in this ward that is not considered fresh, let alone talk to me. Am I right?" Yes. Tang Chung's heart was extremely bitter. He owed Fong Yin a favor, a huge one. "I beat up Chiba Haomu for you, right?" "Yes. Although I am not someone who expects others to repay favors, if Chiba Haomu does not recover, Wu Run will definitely hold me responsible. If they hold me responsible, I will be in a lot of trouble. Of course, if your injuries are more serious than his, they will not have the right and face to trouble me. Tell me, how are you going to repay me for saving your life? If Chiba Haomu is in a coma for 1 day, I will be in a coma for 2 days. If Chiba Haomu is in a coma for half a year, I will be in a coma for half a year and a day," Tang Chung said with a sad face. Fong Yin patted Tang Chung's shoulder and said, "As expected of my Fong Yan's student, when I first saw you, I felt that you are a good man who will never go back on your word." Chapter 89. Chiba Haomu did not stay in a coma for 3 to 5 days like Fong Yin had said. He woke up on the night of the accident. He opened his eyes and looked at the white ceiling with a dull expression. No one knew what he was thinking. Chiba Haomu sat beside Chiba Haomu, her beautiful eyes staring at him without blinking. Her face was calm, and she did not appear particularly happy because he had woken up. Matsushima Ki and Saburo Fujino exchanged glances. Matsushima Ki then signaled Saburo with his eyes. Despite his reluctance, Saburo Fujino walked over to stand before Chiba Halmu and asked in a soft voice, "Student Chiba Halmu, do you feel better?" Chiba Halmu did not answer, as if he did not hear his teacher. Saburo Fujino turned to look at Matsushima Ki and continued, "If you feel any discomfort in your body, you must tell us immediately. We will find a doctor to check on you." Chiba Halmu still did not answer. Saburo Fujino quickly walked to Matsushima Ki and whispered, "Principal, Chiba Halmu's condition is not optimistic. Is there something wrong with his mind?" "Give him some time," Matsushima Ki said. She glanced at Chiba Halmu and said, "Teacher Fujino, let's go out first." "Okay," Saburo Fujino replied. Matsushima Ki patted Chiba Halmu's shoulder and said, "I will leave Chiba Halmu to you." Chiba Halmu stood up and bowed deeply to Matsushima Ki. Matsushima Ki sighed and said, "Don't worry, we'll take care of this." It was late at night and the corridor was empty. It was abnormally quiet. Saburo Fujino closed the door and said angrily, "Principal, Rosefinch is too much of a bully. How can a teacher participate in a competition between students? It is one thing for a teacher to participate, but he also beat up a student. We must seek justice for Chiba Halmu. Otherwise, Warren Senior High School's reputation will be tarnished. How can we face our peers at Warren Senior High School?" "Okay," Matsushima Ki nodded. "Then, Teacher Fujino will seek justice for Wuren." Principal Matsushima Ki. Saburo Fujino looked embarrassed. He was just an ordinary teacher in the delegation. He was not on the same level as Rosefinch Secondary. Only Matsushima Ki, the leader of the delegation, was qualified to negotiate with Rosefinch on behalf of Wuren. If he stepped forward, he would not have a legitimate reason to do so, and Rosefinch would not take him seriously. Matsushima Ki was in a bad mood. He also knew that it wasn't the time to be angry with his subordinates, so he explained, "I'm afraid this matter is a little troublesome." "What's so troublesome about it?" Saburo Fujino was unconvinced. However, the tone of his voice was clearly much lower. "Fong Yin is Vermilion Bird's teacher. He severely injured Wu Ren's student in front of so many people. That's right, we'll let Shinya Haowu lie on the bed. We will not leave until they give us an apology, a satisfactory answer, and compensation sufficient to make up for our physical and emotional wounds. If it really doesn't work, we can make things worse. I want to see if they can withstand the pressure from society and the international community. It would be good if things were that simple." Matsushima Ki shook his head. "Chiba Haowu violated the rules first, stabbing us in the back. They have something to use against us. That teacher surnamed Fong is too cunning. I fear that they are the ones who will not let this matter rest." "Principal, you mean to say, not only will they not admit their mistake, they will also cause trouble for us? Based on your understanding of them, what do you think?" Matsushima Ki asked. Saburo Fujino thought back to how he had interacted with Fong Yin and nodded with certainty. "They will definitely do that. However, none of their team members were injured. What reason would they use to cause trouble for us? Some of our team members were injured. That is a fact that everyone knows. How do you know that none of their team members were injured? Chiba Haowu did not stab him at all. He was standing there perfectly fine, but he also fainted on the spot. That was a trick." Saburo Fujino was unable to continue. "If they can trick, why can't Rosefinch do the same? Besides, what evidence do you have to prove that Rosefinch is cheating?" "Let's reconcile," Matsushima Ki said. "Find a way to reconcile." What a humiliation. Saburo Fujino felt his chest aching again. Ever since they had inadvertently walked into Fong Yan's Class 9, his chest had been aching ever since. "I think the most humiliating thing is yet to come," Matsushima Ki said in a heavy tone. "If we only lost our dignity, it would be a fortunate thing for us now." Chiba Haowu knew that Principal Matsushima Ki and Saburo Fujino were still standing in the corridor outside. Chiba Haowu's impulsive action had pushed the Warren inspection team into a very unfavorable situation. They were probably having a headache over how to deal with the aftermath. She did not deliberately listen to the conversation outside. She looked at Chiba Haowu's dry lips and said, "You need to drink some water." Chiba Haowu did not respond. Chiba Haowu did not need his answer. She walked over and poured a cup of water for him. Then, she used a spoon to feed him. Chiba Haowu only swallowed. There was no expression on his face. "What do you want?" Chiba Haowu asked softly. "Is it just victory? If father knew what you did, he would definitely feel ashamed of your actions," Chiba Haowu said. Chiba Haowu finally reacted. A flash of sadness flashed across his eyes. Then, it was replaced by anger. He pointed at the door of the ward and said, "Get out." Chiba Haowu did not go out. She scooped another spoonful of water and fed it to Chiba Haowu. Then, she said, "Since you were young, the person you admired the most was father. Although you've never said it, I can see it in your eyes. You have talent, and you work harder than anyone else. You want to catch up to him and even surpass him. No one will doubt this. Even I firmly believe this. You will definitely be able to do it. You will become a better swordsman than father. I don't understand swords. I only understand tea. However, I believe that everything in this world is connected. If you don't wash your hands clean, then the tea you brew will definitely have a strange smell. It's the same with swordsmanship. If you don't wash your heart clean, then your swordsmanship will no longer be pure. Are you teaching me a lesson?" Chiba Haowu sneered. "Teaching your failed brother a lesson? Tell him how much of a failure he is? Some people can never reach the pinnacle of swordsmanship in their entire lives. Why? Because he is impatient for success. It's just like brewing tea. If the water isn't boiling, the tea will be green. If it's boiling for too long, the tea will be astringent. Little brother, I just want to tell you not to do inappropriate things at inappropriate times. You don't understand a swordsman's pursuit of the highest swordsmanship. You don't understand a swordsman's thirst for victory," Chiba Haowu said fiercely. "You won't understand." "I understand. How can I not understand?" Chiba Haowu's voice was gentle and soft, as if she would never be anxious. "I also want to brew the best tea in the world. I also want to win. Who likes the feeling of failure? But I'm willing to wait. I believe that I can do it, and one day I will. So, I don't mind giving myself more time. What I'm pursuing is different from what you're pursuing," Chiba Haowu said. "What I want is to win every match. I won't allow myself to fail." "But you still lost," Chiba Haowu said. "You should know that there's still a gap between you and your opponent. Even that swordsman named Tang Sheng can't compare to you in terms of composure and magnanimity, let alone that teacher who stopped you." Chiba Haowu closed his eyes in pain. Fang Yin, that demon-like existence. He was like a giant with infinite strength, while Chiba Haowu was only a short and ugly dwarf. He was completely powerless before him. Why? Chiba Haowu clenched the bedsheet tightly. Because he used too much force, the plain white bedsheet was twisted out of shape, and he tore a few holes in it. Why can he do it? Why can he do it? He really couldn't understand. Fang Yin didn't look much older than him. Why was he able to have such skills? Could it be that Japanese swordsmen really couldn't compare to Huaxia swordsmen? Or could it be that because Huaxia was the origin of martial arts, any random swordsman from Huaxia was an unbeatable monster? Chiba Haowu came from a famous kendo family and was also a top-notch expert in the surrounding circle. Everyone who saw him was not stingy with their compliments. Everyone who fought with him said that his swordsmanship was amazing. Other than his father, who did not praise him, everyone said that his future was limitless. He was proud, but he was also impatient. He knew that his father didn't praise him because he wasn't good enough. He wanted to conquer everyone, including his father. During this trip to Huaxia, he first met Tang Sheng, a well-matched opponent, and then he met Fang Yin, a superhuman teacher. In the same class, there were already 2 people who could defeat him. Then, how many experts did Huaxia have? When he thought of the answer to this question, he felt a chill run down his spine. Chiba Haowu gently stroked Chiba Haowu's tightly furrowed brows, trying to calm them down a little. She said, "If you have too many things on your mind, your hand that holds the sword will become heavier. Let go of your burdens and become a true swordsman. Win everyone's respect like your father." "I don't care if I win people's respect. Chiba Haowu clutched his aching chest and said, I must defeat him. Only then can I wash away the humiliation I received today. Chapter 90. After some intense bargaining, Matsushima Ki, on behalf of the Wu Rin investigation team, accepted the many requests of assistance from Rosefinch Senior High School. Finally, the matter was temporarily put to rest. According to the usual rules, when the investigation team finished their work and was ready to return home, Rosefinch Secondary would host a cocktail party to welcome them. At the same time, it was also a farewell party. At this time, not only would Vice Principal Liu Chaoga, who was in charge of the reception, be present, but Rosefinch Secondary's principal, Zhang Xiaofeng, and other senior leaders and board members would also attend the cocktail party. However, after this incident, how could the Wu Rin investigation team still have the mood to attend such a banquet? They tried to reject it, but Rosefinch Secondary insisted. It was difficult to refuse such hospitality, so they could only put aside their worries and dress up to attend. Originally, Fang Yin was not qualified to attend this cocktail party. He was just an ordinary teacher at Rosefinch Secondary who had just been promoted from probation. He did not have any rank in the school. If a teacher like him could attend a cocktail party, they would probably have to prepare a hall that could accommodate hundreds of people. However, because he was one of the main receptionists for the Wu Rin investigation team, and the student from Class 9, led by him, had the upper hand in the competition with the Wu Rin investigation team, winning 3 out of 3 matches. Even a leader like Li Ziqiang, who was extremely dissatisfied with Fang Yin, felt that he should invite Fang Yin over on such a day to reward him. In the past, most of the matches between Rosefinch and Wu Rin were evenly matched. Sometimes, they would even lose more than they won. They had never been suppressed like this, so much so that they could not even show their faces. Therefore, Fang Yin became the most relaxed person at the cocktail party. Everyone else was busy exchanging pleasantries and drinking, or saying goodbye reluctantly. Only Fang Yin was not loved by anyone. Those who were of a high enough rank were not willing to get close to him. Those who were not of a high enough rank were the students from the Wu Rin investigation team. They could not wait to surround Fang Yin and beat him up. Who would be willing to come up and drink with him? A person's loneliness was not loneliness. If you still felt lonely standing in the middle of a crowd, it meant that you were not popular. Fang Yin decided not to be a cheapskate anymore. Cheapskates have no friends. He sat alone in the corner of the hall, holding a glass of wine and thinking. Sorry to disturb you, Chibakori said gently as she stood in front of Fang Yin. She didn't speak well in Huaxia, and Fang Yin didn't understand Japanese, so she could only speak in English. Fang Yin looked up at the beautiful Japanese girl and asked, What's the matter? I'm here to apologize to you on behalf of Chiba Haomu, said Chibakori. I know that there's a custom in Huaxia to apologize with wine. She turned around and took a glass of red wine from the tray the waiter was holding and said, I'll drink to apologize. She held the glass with both hands and drank the red wine in one gulp. Then she put down the empty glass, took another glass of red wine, and drank it again. After 3 glasses, she wiped the wine off the corner of her mouth with a handkerchief. She looked at Fang Yin and said, I hope you can accept Chiba Haomu's apology. I don't accept it, said Fang Yin. Chibakori looked at Fang Yin in surprise. She didn't understand what he meant. First, we in Huaxia do have a custom of drinking to apologize, but it's mainly done among our colleagues and friends. Does Chiba Haomu think of us as friends? Second, we drink with white wine. A large glass of white wine. Is a sip of red wine an apology? This is your apology, not Chiba Haomu's apology. I believe that a guy who stabbed his opponent after a duel won't repent so easily, right? I think he hates me even more now. That's my guess. I don't care if you believe it or not, but I do. Of course, I have nothing to fear. If he dares to come, I'll just beat him up again. And the fourth. Actually, I only like to say 3 things because it sounds more complete. Adding a 4th thing feels a little out of place. Don't doubt that I'm a Virgo. You're not only here to drink to apologize, but also for something else, right? Chibakori's breathing quickened. Her eyes widened unnaturally as she stared at Fang Yin. Everyone in the investigation team said that Huaxia was treacherous and cunning, and it seemed to be true. His eyes were always smiling, as if there was nothing he didn't know. Fang Yin picked up the glass and took a sip of the juice. He looked up at Chiba Kaori and said, "So what's your purpose? Fight? You can't beat me. Quarrel? You're not that kind of person, and neither am I. Threatening me before leaving doesn't seem to have any meaning." Fang Yin suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "Are you here to be friends with me? That must be it." One must know that women's desire to compare themselves with others was very strong. She lost to Qin Etienne in the tea ceremony, so she must be very angry. They were both proud and arrogant girls, so why was she stronger than them? Coincidentally, she heard rumors that Qin Etienne liked her, so she wanted to be the first to conquer her. That way, she would be able to surpass Qin Etienne. So what if you're good at making tea? So what if you have a strong aura? I still got the boy you like first. Fang Yin was very angry. What do they think he was? Hearing Fang Yin's words, Chiba Kaori became very embarrassed. She looked at Fang Yin and said, "I just want to tell you on behalf of Chiba Haomu, he will definitely defeat you. He will defeat you fair and square. I like idiots who can't beat others, but like to look forward to the future. It's as if he can't beat me now, but he can beat me in the future. Since he has this intention, I have no reason not to help him. Which ward is he staying in? I'll give him a chance to defeat me fair and square. He's a guest, so I can't let him leave with regrets." Sensei Fang Yin, I'm not talking about now. Chiba Kaori felt that she couldn't communicate with Fang Yin. What she meant was to give Chiba Haomu some confidence and more motivation. She would tell Chiba Haomu that she had already challenged Fang Yin on his behalf. Moreover, she would tell Chiba Haomu that she had predicted his victory in front of Fang Yin, who said that the competition was going to start now. "When is that?" Fang Yin asked. "When Chiba Haomu steps on Huaxia's soil again," Chiba Kaori said. She knew that if Chiba Haomu didn't have the confidence to defeat Fang Yin, he probably wouldn't step on Huaxia's soil again. Fang Yin shook his head and said, "It seems that the initiative is in Chiba Haomu's hands. If he can't beat me and hides in some Japanese village, where will I go to find him?" "You are insulting a swordsman's desire to win," Chiba Kaori said. "I'm short-sighted. Why don't I go and let him beat me up now?" Not far away, Vice Headmaster Matsushima, who was drinking and chatting with Lu Chaoga, saw Fang Yin and Chiba Kaori in the corner. He immediately frowned and whispered to Saburo Fujino, who was beside him, "Chiba Kaori and Fang Yin are together. Hurry up and go take a look. Don't let Chiba Kaori get bullied." Seeing that, Saburo Fujino was greatly shocked, and he quickly moved toward the two of them. Fire, theft, and Fang Yin. This was the consensus of the Wu Ren inspection team. "This is an unforgettable trip for me." Matsushima stood on the tea stage and gave a speech. This was the usual procedure of a cocktail party. She looked at the crowd below the stage with a solemn expression and said, "I have led groups to over 20 countries and participated in nearly 100 exchange and inspection activities. However, none of them have been as shocking and thought-provoking as this one. Yes, I have been reflecting on it for the past few days. I have been reflecting on our mentality, our attitude, and more importantly, what is Wu Ren lacking? Wu Ren is a top-notch school in Japan, and its students are all favored by the heavens. Thus, be it Wu Ren's teachers or students, we are filled with pride and a sense of accomplishment. Pride is not wrong, and achievement is not wrong. But the mistake is that while we maintain our pride, we lose the modesty and respect for our friends. Not only are we outstanding, our friends are also outstanding. Rosefinch Secondary has proven this point with its 3 victories. The culture of the Tang Dynasty is in Japan. Many people say that. Sometimes even I feel proud of it. I thought that it was us, Japan, who had preserved and developed the culture of the Tang Dynasty in Huaxia. We have a heart that cherishes and passes down our traditional culture. However, this time, I found out that it is not the case. We package our culture and display its essence to the world. However, this culture has been integrated into the lives of the people of Huaxia. This is too common for them. However, when there is a challenge, when the country needs it, countless outstanding people will step forward to fight for dignity, to fight for victory. We have witnessed all of this with our own eyes. We have lost. We have lost our dignity, Matsushima Ki said with incomparable honesty. We have also won. Me, my students, and every member of our Wu Ren inspection team. We have learned to reflect. We have a humble and unyielding determination. I believe in my students. I believe in my colleagues. I will bring back the defeat of these 3 matches as the greatest gift. The applause was thunderous. Sitting on the plane to Japan, all the members of the Wu Ren inspection team heaved a sigh of relief. Huaxia is too scary, someone said. That's right. Chiba Haomu is invincible, but he was defeated by them. Any random teacher is so powerful. Is their school full of such masters? Chapter 91. The happiest person was Tang Sheng when the Wu Ren investigation team left. He jumped up from the bed excitedly and said, "They really left? Qinya Howell left too?" "They left." Qin Etienne sat on the chair and was peeling an apple in her hand. Her movements were very skillful, and the whole piece of apple skin became a piece. It looked very beautiful as it hung in the air. "That's great. If Qinya Haowu is fine, I won't have to lie in bed for half a year," Tang Sheng said happily. He had been worrying about this matter for the whole day yesterday. If Qinya Haowu really stayed in Huaxia and didn't leave, then his life would be ruined. He did not want to spend his youth lying in bed in a vegetative state. He did not expect that in just one day, Qinya Haowu would return to the country, and Qin Etienne, whom he could not forget, would take the initiative to visit him. Was there anything more blissful than this? Half a year? Qin Etienne raised his eyebrows and quickly understood. Fong Yin asked you to do it? Fong Yin sensei was worried that they would go back on their word. So you guys decided to go back on your word first? I did not. Tang Sheng quickly explained. He was worried that Qin Etienne would think that he was a dishonest boy who liked to play tricks. He said, "Sensei Fong Yin asked me to do it. He saved me. I had to do it." "Fighting poison with poison is indeed a good idea," Qin Etienne said. "At least, this is the best way to deal with those who do not keep their word." Tang Sheng felt a little upset in his heart. Why was Qin Etienne always praising Fong Yan's teacher when it came to him? She was not a girl who liked to praise others. He wanted to ask what the relationship between Qin Etienne and Fong Yan was, but he could not bring himself to ask. It was rare for them to be so harmonious, and he did not want to ruin the atmosphere at this moment. Pack! After peeling the apple, the peel fell into the trash can on the ground. Tang Sheng said pitifully, "Be careful not to cut your hand. If I want to eat it, I can do it myself. Kacha." Qin Etienne took a bite of the apple and chewed on the crisp and sweet flesh. He looked at Tang Sheng and asked, "What did you say?" Tang Sheng swallowed his saliva and said, I say this apple tastes good, right?" Dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Tang Sheng shouted, "Please come in." 2 girls in Rose Finch's uniform stood at the door with a bouquet in their hands. Their faces were red as they said, "Student Tang Sheng, we heard that you were injured, so we came to see you." When they saw Qin Etienne sitting in front of the window in the ward, they hurriedly greeted Qin Etienne and said, "Senior Sister Etienne is here too." This was already the 20th batch of girls who had come to visit Tang Sheng in the past 2 days. Some came alone, some came in groups, and some came in groups. Tang Sheng, the most handsome boy in Rose Finch, was indeed very charming. This time, after he seriously injured a kendo master sent by Japan, his reputation was pushed to an unprecedented height. They sent flowers, apples, and all kinds of gifts. The apple that Qin Etienne ate was given by them. Qin Etienne smiled and nodded at them. He stood up from the chair and said to Tang Sheng, "I still have something to do, so I'll leave you in the care of my junior sisters." Kacha! She took another bite of the apple. "What are you going to do?" Tang Sheng asked hurriedly. He hoped that Qin Etienne would stay and take care of him the most. No, it was fine for him to take care of Qin Etienne. Qin Etienne thought about it and said, "I'm going to sleep. I seem a little sleepy. Senior Sister Etienne, take care." The two girls, standing at the door, greeted her respectfully. It wasn't until Qin Etienne's figure was far away that they felt the suffocating feeling disappear. "Classmate Tangxing, are you okay?" The girls laughed and surrounded him. "Sorry." Tangxing looked at them and said, "Can you peel an apple for me?" "Of course, no problem," the girls said happily. After all, not everyone had the opportunity to peel an apple for the most handsome boy in school. As soon as Fang Yan appeared at the door of Lu Chaoga's office, the secretary, Xiao Meng, who was sitting at the front desk, exclaimed, "Ah, Fang Yan!" As soon as she shouted, the people in the surrounding offices all craned their heads to look over. "He's Fang Yan? He looks so young. He knows martial arts? He doesn't look like it, but he's quite handsome. It's my favorite dish. He's the one who beat up the Japanese, like that. I heard that person is very powerful in Japan." After 2 days of adaptation, Fang Yan was already used to this kind of discussion. If the exchange competition with the Warren investigation team caused Tangxing's popularity to soar, then Fang Yan really became famous after this battle. Not only did he save Tangxing at the critical moment, he even beat up Qinya Haowu in front of everyone, causing everyone's eyes to pop out of their sockets. Now, the students of Class 9 walked on campus with their heads held high. Regardless of whether people asked, they would take the initiative to say, "Don't mess with me. Our teacher knows martial arts." Fang Yan, this teacher who had just come to Rosefinch Secondary for a short period of time, had refreshed people's understanding of him and his own limits time and time again. Fang Yan waved his hand at everyone and said, "Go back. Everyone go back. I'm just an ordinary person. It's enough to watch for a few minutes. Don't let it affect your work." "You're not ordinary at all," Xiao Meng said with a red face. "I saw it with my own eyes. You're amazing." Xiao Meng was Lu Chaoga's secretary. After Zheng Jing was not welcomed by Lu Chaoga would bring Xiao Meng wherever she went. When Fang Yan beat up Chiba Haowu, Xiao Meng was also one of the bystanders. However, there were too many people watching at that time, and her boss was also beside her. Even though she felt that her heart was about to jump out of her chest, she could not take the initiative to express her admiration to Fang Yan. "Don't tell anyone. I'm a very low-key person," Fang Yan said with a smile. "Is Principal Lu in his office?" "Yes. Principal Lu is waiting for you in his office. He said that you can go straight in when you arrive." Xiao Meng's eyes were filled with affection. She looked at Fang Yan and said, "Mr. Fang, Transformers is on. Can I treat you to a movie?" "I don't watch cartoons," Fang Yan said. "It's not cartoons, it's—" Before Xiao Meng finished speaking, Fang Yan had already pushed the door and walked into Lu Chaoga's office. He ran so fast. Xiao Meng's eyes were full of little stars. No wonder he is so good at fighting. Lu Chaoga was looking at a file. This was Fang Yan's file. The file was very simple, so simple that people felt it was not simple. Lu Chaoga knew that either there was a problem with this file, or there was a problem with Fang Yan, or there was a problem with both of them. She also heard Xiao Meng's shouting outside the office. She knew that Fang Yan was now the hottest celebrity in the entire Rosefinch Secondary. Even Tangxing, the most popular guy in Rosefinch, was not as famous as him. Who asked him to be saved by Fang Yan? Moreover, a teacher, in order to avenge his own student, actually beat up a student from the inspection team in front of so many people. Which student wouldn't like such a protective teacher? Now, Fang Yan had already become the guardian angel in the mouth of many students. As Rosefinch's students boasted to the outside world, the entire student community in Huaqing now knew that Rosefinch had a teacher who knew Kung Fu. Lu Chaoga smiled bitterly. She really didn't know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Seeing Fang Yan push the door open and come in, Lu Chaoga said, "Sit down." She took out her tea can from her drawer and pushed it over, saying, "If you want tea, make it yourself." Fang Yan didn't sit down. He looked at Lu Chaoga with a strange expression and said, "Principal Lu, don't be so nice to me. Once you're nice to me, I feel that this is the last conversation we'll have. You want to expel me again, right? If you don't want to drink, then forget it." Lu Chaoga reached out to take the tea can back. "Drink." Fang Yan quickly reached out and not only grabbed the tea can, but he also grabbed Lu Chaoga's hand. Lu Chaoga's ears were slightly red. and she looked at Fong Yin with a sharp gaze. What she meant was, hurry up and let go of my hand. Fong Yin didn't seem to feel the murderous intent in Lu Chaoga's eyes and said, if you let go of the tea can, I'll let go. Lu Chaoga was so angry that she almost laughed. You're holding my hand. How do you expect me to let go of the tea can? Let go, Lu Chaoga said in a low voice. If you promise. Fong Yin originally wanted to insist, but seeing that Lu Chaoga's expression wasn't right, he quickly let go. Whether you promise or not, I'll let go. Lu Chaoga put the tea can in front of Fong Yin, but she didn't take it back. She looked up and down at Fong Yin, and after a serious look, she asked, Fong Yin, what else are you hiding from me? Too much. Fong Yin said very frankly. My parents' hobbies, first love's name, 3 measurements, and so on. I didn't tell you. I don't need to know these things. Lu Chaoga wanted to get angry again. I know. That's why I didn't tell you. Lu Chaoga stared at Fong Yin with a sharp gaze and said, you know how to arrange flowers, know calligraphy, have a deep literary foundation, have a great-grandfather, and have profound kung fu. Fong Yin, who are you? Why did you come to Rosefinch? Others don't know why I came to Rosefinch, but don't you know? Fong Yin asked aloud. Lu Chaoga's heartbeat sped up for no reason, and she said expressionlessly, how would I know why you came? She was worried that Fong Yin would say something messy, and faintly worried that he wouldn't say those words. For the inheritance, Fong Yin said in a deep voice, I want to teach them how to arrange flowers. I want to teach them calligraphy. I want them to appreciate the glory of Chinese culture. I want them to not be bullied. Spider-Man said that the greater a person's ability, the more responsibility he has. I want to follow his example and contribute what I have learned to the country, to society, and to my students. Yes, I'm such a person. A person who is simple, but not simple, ordinary, but not ordinary. Tell me the truth. Lu Chaoga shouted angrily. I'm afraid. You don't know. That woman hits people too hard. I'm scared of her. Fong Yin said with a sad face, feeling wronged. Chapter 92. The first time I met her, she beat me so hard that I couldn't get out of bed for more than 10 days. The second time, she broke my leg. The third time, she knocked out 2 of my front teeth. Even now, people still call me a toothless rabbit. Tell me, how can there be such a violent woman in this world? Is she still a woman? Can I not run away? If I don't run away, who knows what she will do to me this time? What she blinds my eyes? What she knocks my nose in? She has done that before. Which part of my face is the ugliest? My nose. My nose was so handsome and straight, but after 2 punches from her it became like this. People who don't know me might think I was born like this. Fong Yin's history of growing up was the history of Yi Rou's brutal violence against him. Thinking of the grievances and wounds on his body, he had the urge to burst into tears. Why is my life so bitter? Fong Yin looked at Lu Chaoga, who was sitting across from him. She was expressionless, and there was no sympathy in her eyes. Don't you think I'm pitiful? Fong Yin asked curiously. Shouldn't she be hugging him and crying bitterly when he said it so miserably? This woman is so heartless. Do you think I'll believe you? Lu Chaoga said with a sneer. Fong Yin opened his eyes wide. In all honesty, every word he said this time was the truth. How can you not believe me? 2 days ago, you seriously injured a swordsman from Japan and sent him to the hospital. What kind of woman can beat you? Lu Chaoga asked sarcastically. Bastard, does he think I'm an idiot? There is someone more powerful than me. Fong Yin wanted to explain. He regretted that he didn't ask someone to record the video when Yi Rou beat him. Otherwise, the evidence would be irrefutable. Fong Yin. Lu Chaoga interrupted Fong Yin. I want to hear the truth from you. If you really don't want to talk about it, you can tell me directly. I won't force you. I can't force you. But you don't have to make up such a vulgar story to deal with it. Be honest. Fong Yin's eyes reddened. Wait until you want to talk about it. Lu Xiaoga waved his hand disinterestedly and said, no matter where you come from or what your purpose is, as long as you do it for the good of the students in the school, I will still support you in your work as I have in the past. This time, Class 9's performance is very good. The school should reward you. What do you think? Can you give me a raise? Fang Yin put away his depressed mood and said to fight for the benefits that should belong to him. Impossible, Lu Chaoga said. You've just been promoted from an internship to an official teacher. This is already against the rules. It's impossible for me to get a raise in the near future. Lu Chaoga frowned and asked, Are you short of money? Not really. It's just that I'm afraid of being poor and want to save some money to protect myself, Fang Yin said. He still had another thought that he didn't say. He was getting more and more famous in Rosefinch and among the students in Huachin. What if he gentle found his whereabouts and chased after him? He would have to run away again. Doesn't he need money to run away? If there's a critical moment and you need money urgently, you can ask me for help, Lu Chaoga said. This was a promise. After saying that, Lu Chaoga was inexplicably angry in her heart. Why can I avoid the topic of money every time I'm with this guy? Shouldn't educated people be ashamed to talk about money? Thank you, Principal Lu. I knew we're on the same side. Fang Yin was overjoyed. What's the best way to test the friendship between friends these days? Borrow money. No matter how much it is, if someone is willing to lend money to you, it means they treat you as an important friend. According to previous practice, the school can allocate a portion of the funds for you to go on a trip, Lu Chaoga said. That's fine. Fang Yin nodded with a smile. Take the students on a sightseeing tour, feel the beauty of nature, and at the same time, deepen the relationship between them. This is a good idea. The school is indeed more meticulous and long-term than I am. I'm always thinking about whether I can get a raise or not. The teacher leading the team needs to be the homeroom teacher, Lu Chaoga said. The smile on Fang Yin's face froze. What does this mean? They allocated funds for the students to go on a trip, but they kicked me, the hero, away. Qindahai picked up a big bargain. How can they play people like this? Lu Chaoga saw Fang Yin's reaction and laughed in her heart. Kid, I don't believe I can't teach you a lesson. She took out a piece of paper from the folder in front of her and handed it over. She said, From today onwards, you are the homeroom teacher of Class 9. I'll hand over Class 9 to you. Fang Yin grinned and said, I knew the school leaders wouldn't let us. The teachers who work wholeheartedly feel wronged. Sure enough, isn't the reward coming? Fang Yin. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yin seriously and said, The homeroom teacher is different from the teacher. The teacher only needs to be responsible for the subject he teaches and ensure the student's academic performance. But the homeroom teacher is not the same. He not only needs to be responsible for the student's academic performance, but also the students' lives. Whether the students come to class, why they don't come to class, what is the reason for the students' declining performance? What is the reason for the students' improvement performance? If the students have conflicts in school, if the students have conflicts outside, they also need to find a way to solve it. The homeroom teacher is not the students' parents, but they are better than the students' parents. This position has a great responsibility. I understand. Fang Yin nodded and said. On the first day I came to Rosefinch, I told Principal Lu that I want to dedicate my youth, talent, and body. Where there is light, there is warmth. That was not a joke. Fang Yin, don't say such unrealistic things. Lu Chaoga interrupted Fang Yin's words. No one wants you to dedicate your youth and body. You just need to be serious and diligent, and that will be enough to become an excellent homeroom teacher. I help you get the position of homeroom teacher of Class 9 to reward you for your excellent performance in receiving the warrant inspection team. Also, I have something I want you to do. What is it? Pilot, Lu Chaoga said. Pilot of Chinese Studies. What do you mean? Fang Yin did not understand. Learn farewell to Cambridge again on Sparrow Bridge and Rainy Alley in Rainy Alley. Enrich the students' knowledge of ancient literature in class and cultivate their interests and hobbies, such as the tea ceremony, calligraphy, and of course, martial arts. Actually, you're already doing it, but I hope to make it more systematic. If Class 9 is successful, I will consider promoting it to the whole school, Lu Chaoga said. She looked at Fang Yin and said, You are the most suitable candidate. Aren't you afraid that I will lead the students of Class 9 astray? Fang Yin said with a smile. You have to know that it is still the fractional theory. If I bring them to learn these things all day, what if their scores fall behind? Who says that those who know the tea ceremony and calligraphy can't get high scores? Such people are more open-minded and better at thinking. I believe that they will be able to get better scores. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yin and said, "Of course, this is your responsibility. I hope that the students of Class 9 can be good at the tea ceremony and calligraphy, and they can also get good scores. This is the real reason why I am wholeheartedly promoting Rose Finch's education reform. You asked me to do so much, but you don't give me a raise, Fang Yin, but I'm still willing to do these things for you." Fang Yin said with a smile, "What you think is also what I think. What you want to do is also what I want to do. I hope that they can write beautiful words and make beautiful poems. I hope that they can make delicious tea and practice sharp swords. The wisdom of the youth is the wisdom of the country, and the strength of the youth is the strength of the country. If every student is like me, who would dare to provoke us?" "I will accept this task," Fang Yin said heroically. "I will definitely give you a reborn Class 9, a Class 9 that will make everyone look at it in a new light." "Let's wait and see," Lu Chaoga said. "Principal Lu is busy, so I won't bother you." As Fang Yin spoke, he picked up the can of tea on the desk and said, "Principal Lu, you don't need to send me off. I can go out by myself." Lu Chaoga opened her mouth and wanted to shout, but in the end, she just shook her head and smiled bitterly. As soon as the office door was closed, the phone on the desk rang. Lu Chaoga glanced at the caller ID, hesitated for a moment, and finally pressed the answer button. "What's the matter?" Lu Chaoga asked coldly. "I am at the school gate." A man's hearty voice came from the phone, as if he didn't hear the indifference in Lu Chaoga's tone at all, and said, "Mom asked me to pick you up for dinner when I get off work." "I still have work to do," Lu Chaoga said. "I will wait for you at the gate," the man said. "It may take a long time." After hanging up the phone, Lu Chaoga was a little upset. She pulled out the jade guanine from her chest and gently rubbed it with her hand. A cool feeling poured into her palm, and her mood gradually calmed down. Whenever she was unhappy, this jade guanine could bring her comfort that ordinary people couldn't understand. This kind of life, when will it end? She sighed, and there was a heart-palpitating coldness in her eyes. Chapter 93. It was good to be at home, but it was hard to eat outside. Since moving out of Jiangqin's house, Fang Yin had a hard time eating delicious food. The food in the school cafeteria was really not good, and the money in Fang Yin's pocket could hardly support him to go to the restaurant in front of the school every day to improve his life. What's more, he didn't have the guts to spend all the money at once. He had to save a certain amount of money so that he could run away again at any time. Therefore, even if he was a little afraid of his grandfather, Lu Gong, he still liked to go to his house to eat when he had nothing to do. Lu Gong had a small appetite, so he put down his bowl and chopsticks first. He looked at Fang Yin, who was eating happily, and said, "Come to the study after eating." Fang Yin raised his head in confusion, but his grandfather had already left his seat. His grandmother slammed the chopsticks on the table and said angrily, "You old man, why did you ask Fang Yin to go to your study again? I'm warning you, if you scold Fang Yin and drive him away, I won't let you off." Fang Yin quickly comforted his grandmother and said, "Grandma, don't be angry. Who said that Grandpa asked me to go to the study to scold me? Maybe he was praising me. How can I not know his character? If he praised you, he would have said it in front of me. Why would he need to pull you to the study?" His grandmother knew her husband's character very well, so she said angrily, "That's not for sure. Grandpa has been urging me to read books recently. Maybe he asked me to go to the study to check how well I'm reading. You're already a teacher. What's there to test? My grandson is well educated." In his grandmother's eyes, her child was the embodiment of perfection without any flaws. The sea of books is boundless. Even Grandpa doesn't dare to say that he's learned enough. "What's the point of my knowledge?" Fang Yin said with a smile. He quickly finished a bowl of millet porridge in the bowl and half a steam bun on the plate. He said, "Grandma, I'll go upstairs to have a look." "Go. Be careful. If that old man scolds you, you can come downstairs to Grandma." Grandma said worriedly, "Grandma, don't worry. Grandfather won't make things difficult for me," Fang Yin said with a smile. When Fong Yin walked into the study, his grandfather was standing in front of the table writing. Every day, he would write for 2 hours, an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. It was also because of his decades of hard work that his calligraphy reached the pinnacle and formed a style of its own. The outside world called it iron bone calligraphy. It meant that his handwriting was as solid as steel, and every stroke seemed to be carved with an awl. Her grandfather rarely wrote for others, so there were very few calligraphy treasures that had been circulated outside. However, in the black market, each word could be sold for a sky-high price of hundreds of thousands to millions of words. Grandpa was one of the few calligraphers in Huaxia who valued their works according to their calligraphy. Even some of the top international masters still valued their works according to the ruler. It couldn't be helped. Who asked the former prime minister to personally ask him for his calligraphy and said, "If you get an iron bone calligraphy, it can be a family heirloom." Therefore, after Du Qing got his grandfather's calligraphy, he cherished it. He personally visited his grandfather to give him a brush fee, which was also to express his gratitude and the importance he attached to this matter. Yichu. On the white Xian paper, these 2 big characters were written neatly. Grandpa's brush was very heavy. At first glance, it seemed that the ink had soaked the thin Xian paper and burned 2 big holes. However, when you picked up a Xian paper, you would find that the 2 characters were intact. The characters were still on the paper, and the paper was still intact. The brush was heavy, and the brush was light. Grandpa's grasp of strength tended to be perfect. Seeing his grandfather put down the brush, Fong Yin quickly handed him a clean towel and praised loudly, "Good calligraphy." The strength penetrated the back of the paper, making it hard for me to breathe. "You won't be able to breathe?" Lu Gong didn't respond to Fong Yin's words. Even when Fong Yin deliberately made a low-level mistake while praising, he pretended not to hear it. "You're very famous in Rosefinch." Fong Yin chuckled and said, "What did Grandpa hear? You used your family's martial arts to seriously injure someone and send him to the hospital. What do you think I heard?" Lu Gong stared at Fong Yin sternly and said, "What did you promise me back then?" "I said that I wouldn't easily use force." "Grandpa, you don't know what happened that day. If you knew, you would also beat that Japanese up," Fong Yin explained. Lu Gong stared at Fong Yin for a while, then nodded and said, "That's true." Ugh. Fong Yin felt that the old man was a little strange today. He was stubborn and stubborn. Once he made up his mind, even 9 bulls couldn't pull him back. When did he become so easy to talk to? "Grandpa, are you okay?" Fong Yin asked carefully. "What can happen to me?" Lu Gong said with a straight face, "You're not angry. Why would I be angry? I hit someone. Chowga has already explained the cause of the incident to me. Otherwise, do you think I would let it go easily?" Lu Gong said with a cold snort. "Chowga? Headmaster Lu?" Fong Yin looked at Lu Gong thoughtfully and said, "Are you familiar with her? Who do you think invited Chowga back?" A rare smile appeared on Lu Gong's face. Obviously, this was something that made him very proud. "You invited Lu Chowga back? Brat, you have no respect for your elders." "You have to call me Headmaster Lu," Lu Gong scolded. Fong Yin thought that Lu Chowga was only a few years older than him, so why couldn't he call her Lu Chowga? "There's a reason for this incident, so I won't pursue it. But have you thought about it? You're so famous now, and you've exposed your skills. Don't tell me the Yi family didn't notice? Your mother called several times to ask about it, and your grandmother covered it up. You running away from home is such a big thing. Don't tell me they really didn't investigate? Do you think they really don't know you're in Huachin?" Fong Yan's heart was a little cold. He said, "I also thought about it. Knowing is one thing, but I've already run away. They don't have to come and drag me back, do they? I'm so disappointed. Why would they drag you back?" Lu Gong said, "Revenge breeds revenge. When will it end? What era is it now? Is it still fashionable to fight and kill?" "Fong Yin, I'm very happy that you came to Flower City to look for me." Since the path of martial arts was blocked, he would continue on the path of teaching and educating people. "As long as you can settle down, I believe that you will also achieve extraordinary results." "Grandpa, what have I become in my teacher's line of work?" He's still a teacher. Coming out of his grandfather's villa, Fong Yin felt a little depressed. It was as if Ro would suddenly jump out from the grass on the side of the road and say, "Fong Yin, guess who I am?" Then she would rush up and beat him up. Not only did Ro make him nervous, but also the expectation of his family was a heavy pressure. He ran away from home. His father, who had high hopes for him, must be very disappointed. Grandpa, who was paralyzed in bed, must have suffered a huge blow, right? And that old drunkard, he must have gulped down a few mouthfuls of burning knife and cursed. "You're useless, right?" It wasn't that Fong Yin didn't work hard. On the contrary, he worked even harder than everyone else. The more he wanted to prove himself, the more he couldn't prove himself. Since he had comprehended the Tai Chi realm, the Fong family had regarded it as the hope of revitalizing the family. However, in the past 2 years, the more anxious he was, the more stagnated he became in the Tai Chi realm. In the end, the Tai Chi heart, which had been rotating slowly, stopped moving. It became a stillborn baby. Fong Yin was frightened. He knew that once he fought with Ro, the secret of the Tai Chi realm would be exposed. That woman was not only skilled in martial arts, but also had a good eye. So he ran away, just like a coward. However, he was the successor of Fong's Tai Chi realm. He could escape for a while, but could he escape for the rest of his life? Fong Yin thought of the sudden reaction of the Tai Chi heart again in his grandfather's study. At that time, his grandfather pointed out his heart and said that he lacked a kind of spirit. Everyone needed a spirit, and they also needed to have their own pursuits. What was his pursuit? He deliberately pursued to improve his martial arts, but he got the opposite result. Instead of making progress, he was retreating. The Tao was natural. If it was not natural, how could he feel the infinite Tao? At that moment, he felt as if he had been enlightened. Fong Yin knew that his escape this time was the right choice, because he might have found another way to say goodbye. Although that way was full of thorns and weeds, and he did not know where to go, he knew that there must be a way. When I leave Rosefinch, it will be the day I reach the Tai Chi realm, Fong Yin said to himself. There was no wind or moon, and the air was dry and hot. Fong Yin was lost in his thoughts as he walked towards the courtyard he was staying in. His grandfather lived in the easternmost courtyard, and the one that belonged to Lu Chaoga, where Fong Yin lived, was the westernmost one. When he passed by the Yang'an Causeway, he heard a low shout. "Stop, all of you stop! Zheng Guodong, you hooligan, Zheng Guodong." These 3 words were like the key to activating the password. Fong Yin immediately retracted his thoughts. He glanced around and immediately ran toward the bank of Sparrow River. The scene in front of him caused his eyes to crack and his anger to boil. Under the reflection of the clear river, Fong Yin saw that Zheng Guodong and Li Yang were blocking a girl, one on the left and one on the right, not letting her leave. The girl had her arms crossed in front of her chest and was resisting with all her might. The girl cursed, but this did not dispel Zheng Guodong and Li Yang's enthusiasm. The two of them laughed and tangled with each other. They had no intention of letting go of this little sheep. "Scum!" Fong Yin cursed. He immediately took out his phone from his pocket. Chapter 94. If Fong Yin didn't talk to Zhu Jian in advance and saw this shameful scene, he might directly rush up and slap Zheng Guodong and Li Yang 300 times, and then drag them out to see the school leaders to give them a heavy punishment. They didn't want to be good students, but learned to be hooligans. Which hooligan had a good ending? However, he already knew the real reason why his predecessor, Zhu Jian, was expelled from the school. Naturally, he couldn't repeat the same mistake. Therefore, he had to guard against Zheng Guodong and Li Yang. Fong Yin turned on the video function of his mobile phone, but the crime scene was dark. There was no usable image on the mobile phone. It didn't matter if there was no image, as long as there was sound. With sound, at least Fong Yin could prove himself clearly. No matter how the subsequent plot developed, Fong Yin could be in an invincible position. Fong Yin felt that he was really too king smart. "Fong Yin, you bastard, you beast. Don't come over, don't come over." The girl suddenly raised her voice and shouted. Fong Yan's expression froze, and the mobile phone in his hand almost fell to the ground. What was going on? What made him vomit blood was that Zheng Guodong and Li Yang were trying to take off the girl's clothes like hooligans, turned into the embodiment of justice and the messenger of purity. Zheng Guodong blocked the girl with his body and shouted, "Fang Yin, don't come over. I'm telling you, as long as I, Zheng Guodong, am here, you can't hurt Su Xia." Su Xia? Who is Su Xia? Fang Yin felt very wronged. He didn't know her at all. Liang became more arrogant. He didn't know when a wooden stick appeared in his hand. He waved the wooden stick in his hand in the air and shouted, "Fang Yin, don't think that you can do evil just because you are good at martial arts. I'm telling you, unless I, Liang, die and you step over my dead body. Otherwise, don't think about hurting my girlfriend." Girlfriend? Su Xia is Li Yang's girlfriend? Fang Yin understood. This was a trap that saw him as the prey. Their target was him. They wanted to ruin his reputation and expel him from the school. It's fine if you don't move, but if you do, you'll hurt others. Fang Yin slipped his phone into his pocket. There was no point in continuing to take photos. All that was left was his criminal record. No, a pending criminal record. There were victims, witnesses, and they would find a way to get physical evidence. Only 2 of the 3 fops were present. The other one, Chun Tao, must be lying in ambush not far away. Fang Yin was furious. He hated being wronged in such a humiliating way. He could imagine that if this matter were to blow up, there would be no place for him in Rosefinch Secondary. No matter what the truth was, it was difficult for him to stand on the podium with such a scandal on his back. Fang Yin smiled. He was amused by these fellows. Last time, they were really up to no good and were discovered by Zhu Jian, who was passing by. Then, they beat them at their own game. When Zhu Jian was busy protecting the girl from harm, they took a photo of the girl wearing Zhu Jian's jacket and the 2 of them hugging each other. Then, they kicked the girl and Zhu Jian out of the school together. This time, they were smarter. They designed a set of wolf-trapping techniques specifically to deal with Fang Yin. Fang Yin, aren't you good at fighting? Aren't you good at fighting? We won't clash with you directly, but we will think of a way to ruin your reputation. It was not hard to imagine that Fang Yin would be seen by someone with ulterior motives when he went to his grandfather's house for dinner tonight. They immediately discussed setting up a trap. When Fang Yin walked out of his grandfather's house, the show would officially begin. They knew that no teacher would be indifferent when faced with such a situation. Moreover, the culprits were Zheng Guodong and Liang. They also knew that there was no moon or stars tonight. The sky was pitch black, and it was hard to see one's fingers in the forest by the Rosefinch River. It was difficult to use mobile phones and other video equipment. Even if you recorded it, it would be all insulting and attacking Fang Yin. If Fang Yin used it as evidence, wouldn't he be sent to prison? What kind of crime was it for a teacher to molest a student? There was no need to ask. I've always thought that all of you have accomplished nothing. You're just a bunch of good-for-nothings who have nothing better to do, Fang Yin said with a smile. But at this moment, I have to apologize to you. You are much better than I thought. Who the F***ck are you talking about? Liang opened his mouth and wanted to curse. Fang Yin's words were too harsh. His little heart couldn't take it. Zheng Guodong grabbed his arm and shook his head at him, signaling him not to be impulsive and to proceed according to the script they had arranged. Look at this idea. Look at this setup. Look at this acting. You look like professional actors. No. Even some professional actors are not as professional as you. You must have put in a lot of effort, right? Fang Yin, what are you talking about? So what if you were a teacher? Can a teacher molest a female student? Do you have any humanity? Do you have any shame? Zheng Guodong was very immersed in the role, pointing at Fang Yin and scolding. It's a pity that you're not bad guys. Fang Yin said, what makes me happy is that you chose the right way to say goodbye. Being 1,099% bad guy. Very good. You have a clear sense of yourself. You didn't go the wrong way. You were the bad guy. 1,010% bad guy. Fang Yin, go away. If you dare to touch my girlfriend, I will fight you. The girl hiding behind Zheng Guodong and Liang also scolded, Fang Yin, I can't believe that you're a teacher on the surface, but do such a thing behind my back. If Zheng Guodong and Liang didn't come in time, I would have been by you. 55555. To be honest, Fong Yin was in a very tricky situation, because no matter what he said, others could say that he was quibbling. Zhu Jian was unlucky, but at least the victim was firmly on his side. The victim helped Zhu Jian, so even if Zhu Jian was expelled from school, he would only be cursed for having an affair with a female student. Fong Yin was unlucky that even the victim stood on the opposite side and accused him of trying to molest her. If the police believed that the evidence was conclusive, Fong Yin would be committing a crime. Therefore, the methods that Zheng Guodong and the others played on Fong Yin were much more dirty and vicious than the methods that they used on Zhu Jian, who asked Fong Yin to bully them. Naturally, they hated Fong Yin more than they hated Zhu Jian. Fong Yin looked at the performance of the three people in front of him and asked, "Who is Su Xia?" Fong Yin, stop pretending. Su Xia is my girlfriend, the great beauty of our rose finch. Don't you know? If you don't know, why did you follow her to this place? Do you think you can shirk your responsibility like this? We will definitely report to the school and make them expel a dirty teacher like you. You are the scum of the teachers. Why do these lines sound so familiar? Fong Yin thought about it seriously and finally understood. These words were originally said to Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Chun Tao. He didn't expect that these three scumbags would successfully counterattack, and now they could openly return these words to Fong Yin without changing a single word. From this aspect, Fong Yin was indeed a very successful teacher. Do you think that I will be unlucky just because you found a woman to be your accomplice? Fong Yin said with a sneer. Did I touch her? Who saw me touch her? I was a few meters away from her. Don't you think your acting is too much? Do you think that by recording your voices of scolding me, it will prove the fact that I tried to molest that person? Don't you think it's too simple? Also, the sky is so dark. I'm afraid that Chun Tao's phone can't record this scene, right? Could it be that he has more advanced equipment? In order to put on this big show, to drive me out of the school, to send me to prison, are you willing to pay a lot of money? Okay, the show is over. Fong Yin waved his hand and walked towards Zheng Guodong and Li Yang step by step. I can talk to you, but I can't say that I can't kneel to you. Let's do something practical. Zheng Guodong shouted even more vigorously and shouted at the top of his voice, Fong Yin, don't you dare. Help! Help! Fong Yin is molesting a female student. The girl's voice was even more shrill and miserable. She shouted with a sobbing tone, if you dare to come over, I will die in front of you. Fong Yin, I will not let you go even if I become a ghost. Li Yang waved the wooden stick in his hand vigorously and shouted loudly, if you come over, I will beat you to death. I will beat you to death. This is self-defense. The police will not arrest me. Crack! The wooden stick was in Fong Yan's hand. Fong Yan's right hand was holding one end of the stick. No matter how hard Li Yang tried, he could not pull the stick out of Fong Yan's hand. Let go! Li Yang shouted as he exerted force. Fong Yan didn't let go. He exerted a bit of force and lifted the wooden stick up. Because Li Yang's hands were holding the stick too tightly, his body was lifted into the air along with the stick by Fong Yan. Fong Yin retracted his right hand and pushed it forward. The stick carried Li Yang's body and flew towards the Bird River. Li Yang was like a magical youth flying in the air with a broom in his hand. Of course, this magical youth's magic was not very good. Plop! Li Yang's body fell into the river. Chapter 95. Some people said that insulting others was the behavior of a coward. However, Fong Huahua liked to scold others first, then beat them up. In this day and age, opening a business required a one-stop service. Words could make people unhappy in their hearts, and actions could make people unhappy in their bodies. Fong Yin wanted Zheng Guodong and Li Yang to feel uncomfortable. Splash! Li Yang's body fell into the Sparrow River, and the tranquil river was disturbed by his fall. Li Yang didn't know how to swim, so he fell into the river in a hurry and gulped down several mouthfuls of water. He slapped the surface of the water with all his might, causing water to splash everywhere. At the same time, he screamed in a mournful voice, Help! Help! I don't know how to swim. Help! Fong Yin didn't seem to hear him. He looked at Zheng Guodong and asked, "Do you know how to swim?" Seeing how Fong Yin pushed Li Yang into the Sparrow River a few meters away, Zheng Guodong began to feel afraid. Just now, he had been blocking Su Xia with his body in order to put on an act. Now he began to consciously retreat behind Su Xia. Su Xia saw that Zheng Guodong was retreating, so she retreated as well. Thus, between the two of them, Zheng Guodong was in front, and then Su Xia was in front. Their positions were constantly changing. "Do you want to jump in yourself? Or do you want me to help you?" Fong Yin asked with a smile. "Help!" Zheng Guodong wanted to scream again. In order to snipe Fong Yin, they had purposely found such a remote location. This was also the reason why no one came to them, even though they were screaming. However, the teacher's living quarters were only so big. As long as they shouted even louder, someone would definitely come to them. When Li Yang fell into the water, someone might have already heard the sound. Zheng Guodong had just opened his mouth when he saw Fong Yin disappear in front of him. His brain was still trying to figure out where Fong Yin was when he realized that his body was no longer under his control. Su Xia also lost control of his body. Their feet left the ground as they were dragged by Fong Yin single-handedly towards the bank of the Sparrow River. Thump! Fong Yin exerted force with his hands, and both of them fell into the Sparrow River at the same time. When Li Yang saw Zheng Guodong falling into the water, he shouted even louder, "Master! Zheng, save me! I'm drowning. I don't know how to swim." Zheng Guodong was filled with anger. He stood up from the river and scolded, "Idiot, stand up. Why don't he go and die?" The Sparrow River was not deep. With Li Yang's height, as long as he stood steadily, the river water would only reach his chest. It was impossible for him to drink water. But because he was too nervous, he kept plopping in the river and drank several mouthfuls of muddy water. When he heard Zheng Guodong's reminder, Li Yang stopped struggling and stood straight in the river. Fong Yin squatted on the bank of the Sparrow River and looked at Zheng Guodong, Su Xia, and Li Yang, who wanted to climb up but did not dare to approach Fong Yin. He chuckled and said, "I'll give you a brain teaser. Whoever answers it correctly can go ashore." Many people feel that they look better after washing their hair. Why? No one answered. Zheng Guodong was unwilling to answer, and Li Yang did not know how to answer. Su Xia thought for a moment and said, "That's because people feel refreshed and their hair is soft. That's why they feel that they look better." Fong Yin shook his head and said, "That's because their brains are filled with water." The three of you didn't answer it correctly, so you can only continue soaking in the river, Fong Yin said with a smile. Fong Yin, Zheng Guodong was both angry and humiliated. If he could beat Fong Yin, nonsense. If he could beat Fong Yin, he would have beaten Fong Yin to death a long time ago. There was no need for him to think about it like this. He had used tricks and acted, and he had even been pushed into the river. "I know you hate me," Fong Yin said with a smile. "So what? You can't beat me anyway. My dad will definitely avenge us. He won't forgive you." Fong Yin looked at Li Yang, who was threatening him, and said, "Your dad can't beat me either. I can beat your whole family." Fong Yin continued, "Let your dad, mom, uncles, aunts, grandpa, and grandma come at me together. Of course, I'm a culture man. I can do that, but I disdain to do it," Fong Yin said with a serious face. Culture man? Zheng Guodong and Li Yang were so angry that they were about to cry. How could such a person be called a cultured man? Disdain to do it? Disdain to do it? Why are we all soaking in the river now? Fong Yin looked at their wronged eyes and said, "Let your brains be filled with water so that I can reason with you. When you're normal, you usually don't listen to what I'm saying. Do you feel better now? Last time you set up Zhu Jian, it was also in this place, right?" Fong Yin asked. "No." Li Yang's first reaction was to deny it. "Li Yang, shut up." Zheng Guodong turned around and shouted. Only then did Li Yang realize that he had said the wrong thing. He looked at Zheng Guodong in awe and shut up tactfully. Zheng Guodong looked at Fong Yin and said, "We don't know what you're talking about." "What? My predecessor, Zhu Jian, was your language teacher at the beginning of school. Have you forgotten him so quickly?" "We haven't forgotten Zhu Jian. But that kind of person doesn't deserve to be our teacher." Zheng Guodong was extremely calm. He knew that this matter was very sensitive. If it was handled carelessly, Fang Yin might have something on him. Fang Yin was not Zhu Jian. He was more than 10 times more cunning than Zhu Jian. Zheng Guodong began to be vigilant. Why did Fang Yin suddenly mention Zhu Jian to them? Could it be that he knew the truth about Zhu Jian? Or did he want to reverse Zhu Jian's verdict? It seemed that Fang Yin was getting more and more dangerous. He had to tell his father about the current situation so that he could be mentally prepared. Is Zhu Jian really not worthy to be your teacher? I think it's you who don't deserve to be his students. What is the truth about that matter? Only God knows. Earth knows. I know. Teacher Zhu knows. Even your parents know. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Do you think you can hide it forever? We never thought of hiding it. Be honest. Be honest to the teacher. Be honest to the school. Be honest to your heart. Carry the sin. Every step is difficult and heavy. Let go of the burden and run to a new life with ease. Are you crazy? Zheng Guodong said coldly. Be honest? If he was honest, he would go to the labor camp. The rich life and all the enjoyment he had now would be far away from him. Besides, even if he was willing to be honest, his father would not be willing. Pa! Fang Yin stretched his body forward. His legs hooked onto an old vine on the shore. His body was perpendicular to the surface of the Sparrow River. He knocked on Zheng Guodong's head and scolded. Aren't you touched by my advice at all? Fang Yin used too much force, and Zheng Guodong's head was hit. His body tilted backward, and he fell into the river once again. Zheng Guodong. Zheng! The sound of noisy footsteps came from behind, and someone was shouting Zheng Guodong's name. Fang Yin exerted a little force with his legs, and his body bounced 90 degrees. He stood upright on the shore. The sound of footsteps was getting closer. The strong light from the flashlight swept across the surface of the river and shone on the faces of Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the others. Chun Tao, Chun Dahai, Baldi, and the other 2 security guards of the school quickly ran over. Chun Tao saw Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the others standing in the river. He shouted anxiously, Zheng, are you okay? How are you guys? Chun Dahai shone the flashlight on Fang Yan's face and shouted, Fang Yan, do you know what you were doing? You pushed the students into the river. Are you trying to kill them? Baldi looked at Fang Yan in surprise, and then looked at Zheng Guodong and the others in the river. He did not know what was going on, just as Fang Yan thought. Chun Tao was indeed the third person hiding in the dark. Not only was Chun Tao hiding in the dark, but his father, Chun Dahai, was also next to him. The reason why they were able to set up this big show was that Chun Dahai played a very important role in it. Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Chun Tao hated Fang Yan, and Chun Dahai also hated Fang Yan. Ever since Fang Yan's arrival, his life had entered a period of darkness. 2 days ago, the school also canceled his position as the teacher of Class 9. In addition to being a substitute teacher, he was also the full-time leader of the mathematics group for the first years. Although he didn't think much of the position of Class 9's homeroom teacher in the past, he still didn't feel good seeing Fang Yin forcibly take it away. This time, Zheng Guodong came to the door, and the 2 sides hit it off. So there was this trap that was specially prepared for Fang Yin tonight. Originally, the father and son wanted to use some sound evidence, but they did not expect Fang Yin to react so quickly. This made them useless as the 3rd and 4th person. What was even more unexpected was that Fang Yin acted so quickly. In a few moves, he threw Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Su Xia into the Bird River. They wanted to rescue them, but in half a second, Chun Dahai weighed the difference in strength between the 2 sides and immediately chose to let Chun Tao rush back to get help. With the people from the security department in Baldi, they would have more witnesses. Moreover, even if they did not succeed in framing them, the presence of the security personnel could also protect their personal safety. Fang Yan's eyes narrowed under the flashlight, and he said coldly, Teacher Chun, you are now using a weapon to attack my eyes. I am warning you, this kind of action may very well cause a war. I will beat you up. Chun Dahai trembled and quickly moved the flashlight away. Chapter 96. Humans are very complicated animals. Most of the time, their language isn't to explain anything, but to cover up something. It wasn't until Chun Dahai arrived with his people that Fong Yan's hidden motive of talking so much nonsense was achieved. It has to be said that the trap that Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the girl named Su Xiao worked together to design was very lethal to Fong Yan. In such a situation, Fong Yan had the following ways to solve the problem. First, flee the scene immediately. This was the smartest, but also the most frustrating way to deal with it. If Fong Yan didn't want to fall into the trap, all their efforts would be in vain. However, being tricked by a few students and fleeing in panic, it would be a loss of face. How could the arrogant Fong Yan be convinced? Second, beat up Zheng Guodong and Li Yang, and then report to the school that they tried to molest the girl, Su Xia. If Su Xia was really molested by them, what are the chances of Fong Yan winning by doing this? The problem was that Su Xia was hired by them to frame Fong Yan. If Su Xia insisted that Fong Yan conspired against her, and Zheng Guodong and Li Yang were injured by Fong Yan in order to protect her, then Fong Yan wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Third, which was the trick that Fong Yan used now, muddy the waters. Fong Yan wanted to smear the reputation of Zheng Guodong and Li Yang under the witness of others. Last time, Zhu Jian had an ambiguous relationship with a girl, and Zheng Guodong and Li Yang happened to find out and take a key photo, causing Zhu Jian to be the target of public criticism and leave an embarrassment. This time, when Fong Yan tried to molest a female student and was discovered by Zheng Guodong and Li Yang, Rosefinch's students and teachers were all suspicious. Why was it always Class 9's language teacher who was intimate with the female students? Why did Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Shun Tao always step forward to stop the language teacher every time he did something evil? Fong Yan's reputation in Rosefinch was like the sun in the sky. In order to help his students, he had injured Wu Rin's swordsman and sent him to the hospital. Now, he was given the titles of Most Handsome Male Teacher and Student Guardian by the students. The students liked and trusted him very much. What about Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Shun Tao? They were the school's famous hedonistic trio. It might be an exaggeration to say that everyone hated them, but if you said that 9 out of 10 people hated them, then this sentence was definitely true. What if this matter was publicized? Who would the teachers and students believe? The answer was self-evident. This was the clash of forces. Fong Yan was powerful and upright. Therefore, Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the others were no match for him. Another example was Fong Yan's grandfather, Lu Gong. If Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the others slandered him, their parents and family would beat them up. Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the others wanted to slander Fong Yan, but they had shot themselves in the foot. With this suspicion, Fong Yan's subsequent actions to save Zhu Jian would be much smoother. They suspected that this was the second time that Fong Yan had been slandered. Then, could there be more to Zhu Jian's case? Why don't you try hitting me? Where's the law? Chun Dahai shouted angrily. As he spoke, he quickly shifted the direction of the torchlight. Chun Dahai hated Fong Yan, but he was also afraid of Fong Yan. When a 9th class was in charge of receiving the Wu Rin inspection team, he was not present at the competition, even though he was the class teacher. Therefore, he did not get to see Fong Yan's little universe throw Chiba Haomu into the air and beat him up. However, there were many witnesses at the scene, and they described Fong Yan's kung fu as amazing. Chun Dahai had no choice but to believe it. Baldy and 2 of his colleagues from the security office pulled Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Su Xia out of Sparrow River and asked, "What happened? Why did you fall into the river?" It was Fong Yan. Zheng Guodong pointed at Fong Yan and cursed. He was the one who threw us into the Sparrow River. Yes, it was him. He even hit us. Li Yang echoed. Su Xia covered her face and sobbed. She said in a choked voice, "Fong Yan is a beast." "He's worse than a beast." Baldy was shocked. He looked at Su Xia and asked, "Student, what do you mean by that?" "Fong Yan molested my girlfriend," Li Yang said angrily. "If we didn't get there in time, my girlfriend would have." Baldy looked at Fong Yan and blurted out, "That's impossible, right?" Fong Yan chuckled and said, "I don't think it's possible either." Chun Dahai was infuriated by Baldy. He reprimanded, Baldy, explain yourself. How do you know it's impossible? How do you know Fong Yin wouldn't do something like that? As the school's security officer, shouldn't you investigate when a student is in trouble? How can you make a judgment based on your own subjective knowledge? Baldy smiled awkwardly and said, Team Leader Chun, don't be angry. We'll get to the bottom of this. Baldy looked at Su Xia and asked, Student, you said that teacher Fong Yin. What? Do you have any evidence? Su Xia looked at Chen Tao. Chen Tao stood behind Chun Dahai and shook his head at her. No. Do you have any? Baldy turned to look at Zheng Guodong and Li Yang. Do we even need evidence? Zheng Guodong was infuriated by this little security guard. We are the evidence. Li Yang and I saw it with our own eyes. Su Xia is the victim. So aren't her words the evidence? Why don't you say that you guys worked together to harm me? Fong Yin said with a smile. You guys chased teacher Zhu Jin away, and now you want to use the same method to chase me away. You're really ruthless. Baldy and the others looked at each other and remembered that this wasn't the first time Zheng Guodong and the others had done something like this. Didn't they use this method to chase away a language teacher a while ago? Baldy looked at Zheng Guodong and the others suspiciously and said, This is a serious matter. Let's leave it to the school leaders to handle. Zheng Guodong looked at Chun Dahai with a questioning gaze. Chun Dahai shook his head and said, It's already so late. It's better not to alert the school leaders. I suggest the security department do the first step of the investigation and report to the school leaders after the results are out. As long as this matter was under the control of the security department, Chun Dahai and the others would have the initiative. After all, the head of the security department, Zhao Fizhu, was one of them. Besides, Chun Dahai had already noticed that the situation wasn't good for them. Now they didn't have any evidence to convict Fong Yin. Zheng Guodong and Li Yang's reputation was too bad. Even Su Xia's reputation in the school wasn't good. Everyone said they were right, and everyone said they were right. The final result might be that no one could do anything to the other. The most important thing was that if this matter was spread out, perhaps Zheng Guodong and Li Yang would be at a disadvantage. Thinking of this, Chun Dahai was a little angry. You guys, why can't you pay more attention? Don't you know that it's very difficult for bad people to do bad things these days? Okay, then I'll call Chief Zhao and report it, Baldy said. Such a big matter. He couldn't bear it as a small security guard. He had to let the head of the security department come forward to solve it. Fong Yin patted Baldy's shoulder and said, Investigate it as soon as possible and give me justice. Sure. Baldy nodded. Baldy? Chun Dahai roared angrily. We will definitely deal with it impartially. Deal with impartially. Baldy quickly changed his words. Things went as Fong Yin expected. Because Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and the victim, Su Xia, couldn't produce any evidence, this matter could only be left unsettled. Because of the school's security department's intervention, the rumor that Fong Yin attempted to molest Su Xia spread in Rosefinch Secondary. What? Mr. Fong Yin molested Su Xia? God, that's impossible, right? It's Su Xia's own imagination, right? Why didn't she take a look at herself? Su Xia's reputation is so bad, and she's not good-looking. How could Mr. Fong Yin like her? Su Xia is not as good-looking as me. Su Xia was originally a celebrity in the school. She was beautiful, wore heavy makeup, and walked the sexy route. She was the big sister of a group of female delinquents. She changed boyfriends faster than she changed her clothes. Later, when she got together with Li Yang, she temporarily stabilized. Because of Fong Yan's molestation, her reputation was suddenly pushed to the peak. Moreover, someone had given this incident a name, Fantasygate. It meant that this was completely a fantasy of Su Xia, a love-struck girl. It was to attract Fong Yan's attention. Zheng Guodong and Li Yang's reputation was too bad, and they were too vicious, so no one was willing to talk about them. On the contrary, the two of them weren't affected too much. This was a physical education class. Su Xia was surrounded by a group of her best friends as she walked towards the stadium. Su Xia, a clear voice called out. Su Xia turned around and saw an outrageously beautiful girl sitting on the steps of the basketball court. The girl was wearing a Rosefinch uniform, and her long hair was draped over her shoulders. One of her ears was plugged with headphones, and the other was held in her hand so that she could talk to others. She didn't have any makeup on her face, and she didn't have any accessories on her body. However, it was this aura that was naturally revealed that made people feel as if they had forgotten about the mundane world at the sight of it. Qin Etienne, the famous Qin Etienne in the school. It was as if someone had cast a spell on her. Su Xia stopped in her tracks, and so did the rest of her friends. Everyone's breathing slowed down, and they stared unblinkingly at the girl in the uniform on the steps. "Come here," Qin Etienne shouted. Su Xia glanced at her friends and took the initiative to walk towards where Qin Etienne was sitting. She smiled and said, "Senior Etienne, are you looking for me?" Slap. Qin Etienne slapped Su Xia's face. Chapter 97. The slap was sudden and inexplicable. Su Xia was completely dumbfounded. She didn't understand how she had suffered such an undeserved disaster. All along, she had kept a considerable distance from the rose-finch goddess, Qin Etienne. Qin Etienne was very famous, but she rarely appeared in public, let alone participated in any club activities at school. Su Xia's fame wasn't as good as Qin Etienne's, but she appeared more frequently in school, and most students knew her. Some of Su Xia's best friends thought that she should be the real rose-finch goddess. Su Xia also thought so. A beautiful woman could always pick out some flaws from the faces of equally beautiful women. Was it because she had such thoughts that Qin Etienne asked her to slap her? However, she had never revealed it to others. How did she know? Su Xia's skin was white and tender. After being slapped by Qin Etienne, a purplish-red palm print immediately appeared on her cheek. Su Xia opened her mouth and wanted to ask why. "I didn't provoke you. Why did you hit me?" However, when the words came to her mouth, she couldn't say anything. Su Xia's group of best friends saw that Su Xia was being slapped and ran forward to help her. At this time, Qin Etienne raised his head and glanced at them. When they met Qin Etienne's threatening gaze, they immediately stopped. Slap! Qin Etienne's slap landed on Su Xia's left cheek. Slap! This was the third slap. "Get lost!" Qin Etienne shouted. Su Xia stood still and stared at Qin Etienne. She looked like she wanted to pounce on Qin Etienne and fight to the death. After the 3 slaps, Qin Etienne treated Su Xia as if she was invisible. She put the headphones that she had just taken off into her ears and focused on enjoying the moving music and the autumn wind of the sports field. After a long time, Su Xia's eyes turned red and big tears rolled down her cheeks. He turned around and ran back the way he came. When the group of female delinquents saw Su Xia running away, they looked at each other and hurriedly chased after Su Xia. From the beginning to the end, no one scolded Qin Etienne, and no one dared to step forward to defend him. They saw Qin Etienne, but they could only look at Qin Etienne in this way. They had a feeling that Qin Etienne was from a different world from them. Tangxing walked to Qin Etienne's side and sat down. He said with a smile, "How can you be like this? You should at least give me a reason to hit someone, right? If you slap her 3 times, she probably won't even know why she's being hit, right?" Qin Etienne glanced at Tangxing, but he didn't take the earphones off his ears and said, "She will figure it out." He didn't understand now. "You'll understand later." Qin Etienne didn't even have the mood to smile when he heard the rumors about Fang Yin and Su Xia. Framing. What a shameful framing. You don't even want to talk to her? You're really stingy. Her heart is too dirty, Qin Etienne said expressionlessly. Tangxing grinned and said, "Zheng Guodong Liang is really stupid. He thinks he can drive Fang Yin away with such a dirty trick. Does he think Fang Yin is Zhu Jian? 1 Fang Yin is worth 100 Zhu Jian." Qin Etienne turned his head and glanced at Tangxing with dissatisfaction. 8,000. Qin Etienne was still not satisfied. 10,000. Fang Yin is Fang Yin, Qin Etienne said. Okay, Fang Yin is Fang Yin. Tangxing's body was lying on the steps, and he imitated Qin Etienne to bask in the sun. "Qin Etienne, you look like a crazy fan defending the rights of her idol. Zheng Guodong and Liang want to drive Fang Yin away. You won't go and slap them, will you? If you really want to do that, you must tell me in advance so I can go and watch. Men should solve their own problems, Qin Tian said. I think he must be embarrassed to slap a woman, so I did it for him. Tang Sheng couldn't sit still. He looked at Qin Tian's almost perfect side face with burning eyes. He looked at the pink and white skin that was slightly transparent under the sun and the fine pink fluff that could only be seen at such a close distance. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to keep his voice steady and said, Qin Tian, you don't really like Mr. Fong, do you? Qin Tian's beautiful eyes were full of smiles. She looked at Tang Sheng and said, You deliberately pointed out his identity as a teacher. Do you want to add some resistance between us? I hope he can be sober. He is a teacher, and we are students. It is impossible for a teacher and a student. How do you know it is impossible? Qin Tian asked. Tang Sheng really couldn't guarantee this. He knew Qin Tian. He knew her character. When she decided on something, it was really difficult to change her mind. You see, even you believe that we will be together in the future, Qin Tian said with a smile. I don't believe it, Tang Sheng said with a very firm voice. I never believe that you two will be together. I only believe that we two will be together. Only the two of us are the most suitable. Qin Tian, I like you. Can't you feel it all? But I don't like you, Qin Tian said indifferently. Fong Yin was in big trouble. When he returned to the office after teaching 2 Chinese classes to the students of Class 9, a folded white paper crane fell from the textbook. He held the paper crane and flew in the air twice before he realized that there was something wrong. Who put the paper crane in his textbook? Why did they put the paper crane in his textbook? He opened the paper crane with doubts and expectations. Sure enough, there was a love letter written to him. Mr. Fong, I like you so much. Qin Tian? This was the first name that came to Fong Yan's mind. She was the only one who dared to confess her love to him so openly. However, Fong Yan soon ruled out his doubts about Qin Tian. Qin Tian was such a proud girl. If she liked a man, she would express it to him face to face. How could she choose to express it in a love letter? Moreover, there was no signature at the end of this love letter. This was not Qin Tian's style. Zheng Guodong. The reason why Fong Yin guessed that it was Zheng Guodong's doing was that he was worried that Zheng Guodong would use other ways to frame him after his plan failed that night. As for the 3 problematic students in his class, Fong Yin never dared to take them lightly. They wanted to expel him from the school, and Fong Yin also wanted to find a way to help Zhu Jian clear the shame from them. Good people should be rewarded, and good teachers should be respected by others. However, if it was just a love letter, how could it frame him? Or was it really written by a girl in the class? If that was the case, Fong Yin would have a headache. Puppy love. Puppy love was a problem that middle school teachers had to face. What was more annoying was that this puppy love did not happen between students, but the students directly wrote a letter to the teacher to confess their love. Fong Yin had only had one failed love experience in his more than 20 years of life, so he was still very shy and unfamiliar with this magical thing called love. However, he knew that if he did not handle it carefully, he might hurt both himself and others. This matter could not be made public, so he could only find a writer quietly and solve the problem without hurting her self-esteem. Just when Fong Yin was in a daze, Teacher Kai in the office greeted Fong Yin while cleaning the table and said, Mr. Fong, it's time to get off work. Why don't you go back to eat? Ever since the Wu Ren inspection team arrived, ever since Fong Yin became famous after the battle, and ever since he was promoted from an ordinary language teacher to the prestigious position of Class 9's homeroom teacher, he realized that his popularity in the office had improved tremendously. The teachers who did not like him before would take the initiative to say good morning to him when he went to work in the morning, and the teachers who were usually indifferent to him would also say hello to him when they came home from school. Even during the break, the teachers would generously give a small piece of potato chips or bread to Fong Yin. Fong Huahua finally felt the warmth of home in Zhuke Middle School. I'm going back now, said Fong Yin. He put the paper crane in his pocket, then got up and walked out of the office. Just as he walked out of the office, he saw Baldy running towards him in a hurry. Baldy, what are you busy with? asked Fong Yin with a smile. In order for the students to learn farewell to Cambridge again in Sparrow River, Fong Yin had specially gone to borrow Baldy's black canoe, which the school used for salvage. Through that encounter, Fong Yin had conquered him with his idle, handsome appearance and extraordinary poet temperament, and the two of them had maintained a very close friendship. When Baldy saw Fong Yin, he said, "I'm looking for you. Mr. Fong, why is your phone out of battery? I can't get through to you. Someone is looking for you at the school gate." "Looking for me? Who?" asked Fong Yin. "You'll know when you get there," said Baldy. "A woman?" asked Fong Yin. "A man," said Baldy. "A man?" Fong Yin thought about it. "I don't have any male friends in Huacheng. Du Qing wouldn't come to school to look for me, and Jiang Zhulu, if he wanted to see me, he wouldn't have asked Baldy to come over and inform me. He might have been hit on the head with a stick." Fong Yin followed Baldy to the school gate and saw two figures, one tall and one short, waiting outside the security booth. Fong Yin turned and walked away. "I don't know them." Chapter 98. Seeing Fong Yin turn around and leave, the short fatso chased after him and shouted anxiously, "Junior Marshal Uncle, Junior Marshal Uncle, don't run. I'm Fong Yingying. Look at me carefully. I'm Fong Yingying." Fong Yin was angry in his heart. "I ran because I saw clearly that you were Fong Yingying." The Fong family still came to the door, which made Fong Yin have the urge to immediately pack his bags and buy a ticket to run away. If the Fong family could come to the door, why couldn't the Yi family? This time, it was hero and warrior. Who could guarantee that the next one wouldn't be violent and gentle? The tall man ran in front of Fong Yin a few steps and said like a child, "Junior Marshal Uncle, I'm hungry. If you're hungry, let's go eat." "I don't have money." Baldy felt that his IQ was not enough. He looked at the three people entangled together and shouted, "Fong Yin, they really seem to know you. It's your nephew. It can't be wrong. Isn't this nonsense?" Fong Yin thought gloomily. He also knew that since hero and warrior had come to the door, it was impossible for him to escape. This was the school gate. It was not a good idea to make a ruckus here. Fong Yin stopped and looked at hero and warrior. He said, "Let's go eat." "Thank you, Junior Marshal Uncle," the short and fat Fong Yingying said happily. "All the heroes are starving." Fong Yin took hero and warrior to a Hunan restaurant at the school gate. In order to talk more conveniently, he asked the proprietress for a small private room. As soon as the three of them sat down, the waiter came in with the menu and asked with a smile, "What would you like to eat?" Fong Yin took the plate and said, "Fish with tofu, braised pork, scrambled eggs with chives," and crack, a crisp sound was heard, and the room became deathly quiet. The waiter stared at Fong Haohan with his eyes wide open and said in disbelief, He bit the cup. Junior Marshal Uncle, the hero, is eating the cup again." Fong Yingying complained. Fong Yin looked at Fong Haohan and said helplessly, "Hero, the dishes will be served soon. Can you bear with it for a while?" "Junior Marshal Uncle, I am hungry," Fong Haohan said with an infinite grievance. Fong Yin waved his hand and said, "Only this one. You should fill your stomach first so that you can eat later." "Thank you, Junior Marshal Uncle," Fong Haohan said happily. Then he put the glass in his mouth and began to chew. "A hand-torn cabbage. Girl, a hand-torn cabbage. Hurry up and write," Fong Yin urged. I. The little girl's hand, holding the pen, trembled. "Eating a glass cup as a dessert? What kind of people are they? They won't bite, right?" The little girl felt that she was in danger and was very scared. "Let me do it," Fong Yin said. He took the pen and the menu from the little girl's hand. After adding a few vegetables, such as hand-torn cabbage and vermicelli, he handed the menu to the little girl and said, "Give us a big bowl of noodles. No rice or wine. Come up quickly." He pointed at Fong Haohan and said, "If you serve the dishes slowly, he may eat all the cups on the table." The little girl's body trembled violently. She looked at Fong Haohan, who was eating the glass happily and blissfully, as if she was looking at a monster. She opened the door and ran away in a panic. Fong Yin looked at Fong Haohan and said, "Hero, don't eat glass in public in the future. It's not good good. Can we eat in your house? Fong Haoan asked. My house. Fong Yin stared at the hero vigilantly and said, When are you two going back? Fong Yingying glanced at Fong Haoan sadly and said with a smile, Junior Martial Uncle, we're not going back. Where are we going to live? We'll live wherever you live, Fong Yingying said. Seeing Fong Yan's expression change, he quickly explained, We don't have to sleep on the bed. We can sleep on the floor or in the yard. Just give us a place to stay. Who told you to come out and find me? Fong Yin asked. Master, Fong Yingying said. Old drunkard. The hero's master was Fong Yan's grandfather, Fong Hui's disciple and adopted son. Fong Hui only had one son, Fong Yixing, and Fong Yixing only had one son, Fong Yin. The Fong family had only one son. Fong Hui was a martial arts master. His Tai Chi was superb, and people called him Shadowless Hand. The reason why Fong Hui had such a nickname was because he rarely fought with others. Even if he did fight, it was hard to see him fight. He didn't use his hands to fight because it was embarrassing. This was exactly the case for people like Fong Hui, who had reached the peak of martial arts. Due to Fong Yan's lack of ability, he was still doing this kind of shameful thing. Fong Hui loved martial arts, and he put all his hope on his son, Fong Yixing. He didn't expect that Fong Yixing only liked reading, painting, and learning, and had no interest in Tai Chi at all. Fong Hui fought and forced his son, but Fong Yixing rejected him from the bottom of his heart. Even if he learned some punches and kicks, it was just perfunctory, and Fong Hui didn't like it at all. Fong Hui was so disappointed with his son that he chose the most talented disciple among his disciples, Imo Qingdi, as his adopted son. He wanted him to replace Fong Yixing and inherit the Tai Chi legacy. After Fong Yin was born, Fong Hui placed all his hopes on him. He nurtured him wholeheartedly and taught him personally. He wanted him to become a useful person quickly. According to seniority, Imo Qingdi should be Fong Yan's uncle. However, Fong Yan's master was his grandfather, Fong Hui, so he and Imo Qingdi were brothers. This was also the reason why the hero and the hero called Fong Yin Junior Martial Uncle. Family, there was a family, and there was a door, so the title was a bit confusing. Imo Qingdi was a rare martial arts genius, and he felt the Tai Chi state 6 years earlier than his master Fong Hui. Of course, his record was broken by Fong Yin. Fong Yin felt the Tai Chi state at the age of 22 and was called a weirdo by the Fong family. However, Imo Qingdi's life was unfortunate. After experiencing a huge blow in his life, he became addicted to alcohol and was called an old drunkard. The hero and the hero were two disciples that Fong Yan's senior martial brother, Imo Qingdi, brought back from outside. They didn't have this name before, but when Fong Yin was chatting with them, he asked them what their dreams were. At that time, Fong Yingying, who was not called Fong Yingying, said that after learning martial arts, he would become a hero who would fight for justice. Fong Haoan, who was not called Fong Haoan, nodded while eating glass. So, Fong Yin gave the short and fat Fong Yingying the name Fong Yingying, and the tall and thin Fong Haoan could only be called Fong Haoan. Hearing Fong Yin call their master an old drunkard, Fong Yingying's face became gloomy, and the glass in Fong Haoan's mouth became tasteless. It was tasteless in the first place, okay? Fong Yingying looked at Fong Yin and said, Master said he has nothing to teach us, so he asked us to come to you and follow you to explore the world. We will go wherever Master says you go. Let us protect you. Fong Haoan swallowed the glass and said aloud, But I'm just a language teacher. Where can I go? Do I need your protection? Fong Yin said angrily. Seeing that Fong Yin was angry, the hero immediately lowered his head and said nothing. Fong Yin sighed softly and said, How does your master know I'm in Huacheng? Everyone knows. Fong Haoan raised his head and said, What did you say? Fong Yan's face turned pale. Fong Yingying knew that Fong Haoan didn't know how to speak, so he quickly helped explain and said, Master said you have nowhere else to go. Huacheng is the safest place, so he asked us to come to Huacheng to find you. My parents know I'm a Huacheng? Fong Yin asked. They should know. Fong Yingying saw that Fong Yan's expression was unfriendly, so he quickly changed his words and said, or maybe they don't know. Do they know or not? Fong Yin slapped the table. They know. Who else knows? The Fong family knows, the Yi family knows, and everyone else who should know knows, Fong Yingying said honestly. Fong Yin wanted to cry, but no tears came out. I'm so low-key, but I'm still so flirtatious in the eyes of others. Does Yiro know? Fong Yin asked. This was the question he was most concerned about. He ran away right before the competition. Yiro was probably the angriest one. If this woman knew, it would be no small matter. However, the Fong family knew, the Yi family knew, so how could Yiro not know? He was just hoping for a little luck. Just a little. Fong Yingying nodded and then shook his head. What does that mean? Fong Yin asked. Does she know or not? When we left, Missy was drinking with Master. Missy asked us to bring you a message. The muscles on Fong Yan's face twitched. He felt that his heart was about to break. What did she say? Fong Yin asked bitterly. He felt that his life was too hard. What kind of god did I offend? Missy said that she would pretend not to know that you were in watching. Fong Yin breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, that means you won't pursue this matter anymore. Missy also said, Fong Yin wanted to beat Fong Yingying to death. Would it kill you to say everything at once? Because of Fong Yingying's big turn, Fong Yan's heart was hung up high again. You must wash your face every day. She is afraid that she will dirty her hands, Fong Yingying said. Fong Yin felt that his life was dark. He couldn't live like this. Chapter 99. If someone told Fong Yin to wash his face every day because he wanted to slap Fong Yan's face, Fong Yin would have already rushed up to fight with him. If this person was Yiwen Ro, Fong Yin had also rushed up to fight with her. But he didn't win. For Teacher Hua, if one day he could beat Yiwen Ro, he would definitely rush over and kiss her fiercely. He didn't hit her. He wanted to humiliate her. Sometimes a mouth can hurt others more than a fist. Fong Yin had already made sufficient preparations and was just short of beating Yi when Ro to the ground. Some people say that the fist is the hard truth. In Fong Yan's eyes, this sentence was simply the truth. Why did Yi when Ro dare to bully him like this? Wasn't it because her fists were harder than his? Otherwise, would she dare to bully him? He would have beaten her to the point that even her parents wouldn't recognize her. Hearing Fong Yingying's words, Fong Yin was both anxious and angry. He was anxious because that little girl Yiwen Ro was still holding a grudge. Furthermore, she could come to Flower City and beat him up at any time. He was angry because she threatened him in front of so many people. Wasn't that not giving him face? Fong Yin slammed his palm on the table and shouted, How dare the Yi family come to our Fong family's territory and behave atrociously, and even say that they want to injure our Fong family's disciple? My personal honor is nothing, but where is the reputation of our Fong family? Where is our dignity? This is too much. This is too much. Fong Yin looked at Fong Yingying and asked, Your master was there? Yes. Fong Yingying nodded. He didn't say anything? Yes. Fong Yingying took away the cup in front of Fong Haoan, worried that he wouldn't be able to control himself and swallow the new cup. What did he say? Fong Yin asked. Master said. Fong Yingying looked at Fong Yan's expression and said carefully, That's how it should be done. Fong Yin almost spat out a mouthful of blood. That old drunkard. Was he still a member of the Fong family? Is he still my grandpa's disciple and my senior brother? How could he speak up for a woman at this time? Almost no one in the Fong family liked Yiro. This was because she had mercilessly beaten up Fong Yin time and time again until his skin was torn, his teeth were broken, and his legs were broken. She had really caused the Fong family to lose face. How could the Fong family like their nemesis? The reason why she said it was almost rather than absolutely was because there was another person in the Fong family who liked and admired her. That person was Fong Yan's eldest senior brother, the old drunkard. He didn't know which side of Yiro caught the old drunkard's eye, but he said that this girl was straightforward, generous, and had a bright future. Moreover, Yiro also had a hobby that matched the temper of an old drunkard. Yiro was fond of drinking, and it was not difficult for her to drink 2 or 3 kilograms of high liquor. Even the old drunkard could only surrender when he competed with her in drinking. Yiro and the old drunkard were bosom friends in the past, so the old drunkard treated Yiro much better than he treated his junior brother. Fang Yin pointed at Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan and said, "Go back. You two go back quickly. Your master treated me like this, and he still has the face to send you to my side to eat. Get out of here. Junior martial uncle, master asked us to protect you," Fang Haohan said with a simple and honest face. Fang Yingying patted Fang Haohan's arm, motioning him not to speak casually. He looked at Fang Yin with an obsequious smile and said, "Haohan and I are of course on the side of junior martial uncle. That Yiro, miss, she has nothing to do with us. Am I right? Ever since we were young, the person that Hiro and I admire the most was junior martial uncle. Our ultimate dream is to follow little martial uncle to brave the world, do chivalrous deeds, and become true heroes." Fang Yingying originally wanted to call Yiro by her name, but thinking of this woman's usual arrogant and domineering style, he quickly added the respectful title of Miss. Fang Haohan nodded and said, "That's right." Fang Yin sighed softly, knowing that since these two burdens had come, it would not be so easy to drive them away. He looked at Fang Yingying and asked, "Do my parents know that you came here?" "Both master and madam know." "What did they say?" "They didn't say anything." "Then they pretended not to know." Fang Yin said, "My father. He wasn't angry, right?" Fang Yingying thought for a moment, shook his head and said, "I don't know. But on the day young master ran away, master smashed his study." Fang Yin wanted to hit someone. He wanted to give Fang Yingxiong, who looked like a bad guy, a good thrashing. How could you tease other people's feelings like this? The old man smashed his most precious study, which he usually didn't let people enter. Don't you know whether he was angry or not? Fang Yin felt that he was very weak and helpless now. Fang Yingying noticed Fang Yan's murderous eyes, shook his big head, and said seriously, "I really don't know. How can we, as his disciples, guess what's on master's mind?" Fang Yingying, "If you make me angry again, get out of here." Fang Yin scolded, "Even if you don't make me angry, get out after this meal. I won't take you in. I can't protect myself now. I'm ready to run away at any time." "Then we'll accompany junior martial uncle to run away," Fang Yingying said with loyalty. "Many people can take care of each other." "Yes, that's right." Fang Haohan nodded and said. The door of the private room was opened, and a waiter came in with a big porcelain bowl. It was fish with tofu with a lot of chili. Fang Yin rinsed the chopsticks with tea and said, "Eat, eat. You two get out of here after the meal." The actions of the two heroes did not look heroic at all. The two of them tore the chopsticks out of the disposable bag. Ignoring the fiery red chili on the chopsticks and the sizzling hot oil, they scooped up the fish and fed it to their mouths. It was so hot that they couldn't bear to spit it out even if they screamed. Fang Yin glanced at them with a noble and cold look and said, "I often eat this dish." After saying that, he felt very sour in his heart. If they were at home, there would be all kinds of delicacies. What kind of delicacies couldn't they eat? When the waiter closed the door and left, he was still looking at the faces of the three people in the room curiously, not knowing what he was looking for. When the second dish was served, the waiter became a tall and strong middle-aged uncle with an oily face. The middle-aged uncle put the plate of shredded cabbage on the table and said with a smile, "Three little brothers, I'm sorry to bother you." Fang Yin looked at the middle-aged man and asked, "What's the matter?" "Well, it's like this. I heard from our little sister here that there's a little brother who can eat raw glass. Is there anyone who can cook and eat glass?" Fang Yin asked. He was in a bad mood originally, and the waitress told everyone what happened in their private room, which made him even more unhappy. Therefore, his tone when talking to the middle-aged man was not very friendly. "Haha, little brother is really humorous. Really humorous." The middle-aged man was a little embarrassed. However, he seemed to have a very strong ability to resist attacks. He still didn't give up his goal. He looked at Fang Yin and said, "It's like this. When a little sister said that someone can eat glass, Many guests outside heard it. A table of guests wanted to invite this little brother who can eat glass to go out and perform for everyone. Fang Yan's face became more gloomy. He pointed to the door and said, "Go out." The middle-aged man still wanted to persuade him and said, "Little brother, you can think about it. If it's true, they are willing to pay for your expenses today. Everyone is just looking for fun, right?" Fang Yin was amused by the middle-aged man and said, "Are you the owner of this restaurant?" "Yes. My surname is Su. Su Bin." The middle-aged man smiled and reached out his big hand to Fang Yin and said, "Thank you, little brother, for coming to my small restaurant." Fang Yin didn't shake hands with the fat boss. He pointed to the door and said, "It's enough to confirm that you are the boss. You can go out now. I won't come back to your restaurant in the future." I'm just helping someone to say something. Since you don't want to, then forget it. You guys eat and drink well." The middle-aged man looked unhappy, but he still turned and walked out of the box. Fang Haoan looked at Fang Yin and said, "I'll go and give them one. I'm not full anyway." "That's right. You can also earn money for a meal." Fang Ying echoed. "Ha!" Fang Yin slammed his palm on the table. "Do you want to stay?" Fang Ying and Fang Haoan nodded quickly. They came all the way to find Fang Yin. Didn't they want to follow him to conquer the world? "Then listen to me," Fang Yin said. "Eat." Fang Ying and Fang Haoan nodded and began to eat again. Clang! The door of the box was kicked open from the outside. Because the quality of the door was not very good, it looked shaky and could fall at any time. They saw the owner of the restaurant, Su Bin, who had just walked out of the box, standing in front of several young people and kept explaining something. Those young people didn't take Su Bin seriously at all and forcibly barged into the private room. The man with the brush cut looked at Fang Yin and the hero and said, "What's wrong? We're asking you to go out and cheer for everyone, but you don't want to give us face? If you don't give us face, we'll also make you lose face." Fang Yin tasted the fresh and tender fish in his mouth and said with a smile, "I'll give you face if you have face. If you don't, why should I give you face? If you want others to give you face, you have to say where your face is first, right?" Chapter 100. There was a martial arts school next to Rosefinch Secondary called Huaching Glory Martial Arts School. Most of the students in the martial arts school were boys. They were at the age where they were full of energy. Relying on their good skills, they often went outside the school to fight. Because the two schools were close, Glory Martial Arts School students and Rosefinch Secondary students often had conflicts. Glory Martial Arts School students would either snatch Rosefinch's students' girlfriends or force Rosefinch's students to give them a pack of cigarettes or borrow 200 yuan to spend. Rosefinch Secondary students were proud and arrogant. Naturally, they were not willing to be bullied like this. Students from the two schools secretly fought several times outside. Every time, Rosefinch suffered a crushing defeat. Rosefinch's crushing defeat encouraged the arrogance of Glory Martial Arts School students. They often went to Rosefinch's students' territory to show off their strength and beat up whoever they didn't like. Sometimes, when they ate at the same restaurant as Rosefinch's students, they were especially cruel and merciless when ordering dishes. After eating and drinking in high spirits, they pointed at Rosefinch's students and said it was their treat before leaving. Rosefinch's students were angry but didn't dare to say anything. They could only obediently accept this disguised extortion. Rosefinch's principal also went to negotiate with a martial arts school because of the students' reaction. The result of the negotiation was that the martial arts school would record demerits to the offending student. However, why would the martial arts school students care about this? After the punishment, they became even more aggressive in bullying Rosefinch's students. The buzz cut was called Wang Hui. He was a student of Glory Martial Arts School. He was also the student leader of Glory Martial Arts School. Martial arts schools were different from other cultural schools. As long as you could fight, the students would respect you. Wang Hui relied on his knowledge of Kai boxing to beat everyone in the school. Even some of the weaker instructors couldn't beat him, which further fostered his lawless personality. This Hunan restaurant was opened in front of Rosefinch Secondary's entrance. However, martial arts students nowadays love to go to Rose Finch's students' territory. When Wang Hui was playing finger guessing and drinking with his friends, he heard the waiter who came out from inside hurriedly tell his boss that someone in the private room had eaten a glass. People who love martial arts were most interested in this kind of anecdote. After Wang Hui found out about the situation, he asked the restaurant owner, Su Bin, to invite the master who could eat glass to come out and perform for everyone. If he performed well, their meal would be on Wang Hui's tab. Su Bin knew that Wang Hui was a student of Glory Martial Arts School and did not dare to offend him. Therefore, he used the opportunity of delivering food to invite Fang Yan, but he didn't expect Fang Yan's attitude to be so bad that he rejected him flatly. Su Bin was worried that the conflict between the two parties would bring disaster to the restaurant. After returning, he told Wang Hui that the guests in the private room were busy catching up with each other and could not come out to perform for the time being. Wang Hui was furious. He felt that he was being looked down upon and insulted. Thus, he led a group of students and barged into the private room while cursing. Su Bin tried to persuade them again and again, but he was still unable to quell the inexplicable anger of Wang Hui and the others, as well as the inexplicable feeling of being insulted. Wang Hui and the others were originally making trouble out of nothing. Now, that Fang Yan asked them where their faces were, it gave them a reason to beat people up. Although they usually did not need a reason to beat people up, they always felt that it was not very exciting when they beat people up. During the nights of heavy rain, Wang Hui had stood in front of the window countless times, painfully thinking about why he felt so powerless. Later on, he finally understood. They didn't beat people up openly and righteously enough. Because of their guilty conscience, they could not get excited when they fought. If they had a more adequate reason to beat people up, if they had to beat people up no matter what, then wouldn't they be more into the character? Wang Hui understood. To Wang Hui, Fang Yan, who fought back verbally, was a pure and cute little angel. Just when they were about to sleep, someone took the initiative to give them a pillow. It really made them happy. Wang Hui stared at Fang Yan with a teasing look and said with a smile, "Bro, do you know who you're talking to? I can't even see your face. How would I know who you are?" Fang Yan said with a face full of sarcasm. "Just based on your buzz cut and your personality that likes to court death, I really can't associate you with any beast. Brother Hui, we have met someone who is not afraid of death. Our glorious brothers have never been slapped in the face like this before. What? Which brother wants to go and spar with this pretty boy?" A big battle was about to break out. Su Bin was almost anxious. He stood between Wang Hui and Fang Yan and said with a pleading face, "Big brothers, you are all my brothers. It is not easy for me to open a shop to support my family. Can you let me go? Today's expenses will all be on me. Just treat it as me treating you to a meal. Is that okay? Calm down. I will get someone to send you a few bottles of beer." Su Bin knew that these martial arts school students were young, but they were fierce and ruthless when they fought, as if they did not care about their lives. If he let them fight in the private room, his small shop would suffer heavy losses. If he allowed them to hurt the customers, things would become even more troublesome. Wang Hui sneered and scolded. "Who needs a sip of beer from you? Su Bin, you better hide far away. Otherwise, our brothers have no eyes. If we hit you, just blame it on your bad luck." "Brother Wang, scram." Wang Hui kicked Su Bin, this annoying fellow, away. Wang Hui looked at Fang Yan, who was sitting motionless in his seat, and his heart was filled with even more anger. This brat was really daring. He had already announced Glorious Martial Arts School's name, and he was still as steady as Mount Tai. Clearly, he did not put them in his eyes. Wang Hui turned to look at the brothers behind him and asked, "Who wants to go up and weigh in first?" "Me." A black fat boy stood up and said with a smile, "Brother Hui, leave the first round to me. I like to trample on this kind of soft and tender pretty boy." Fang Yan's face was delicate, and his skin was white and tender. He indeed looked like the type that the black fat boy liked to trample on. "Ha!" Fang Yan slapped the table and shouted angrily, "Who are you calling a pretty boy? If you have the guts, scold me again." "Pretty boy? So what if I'm scolding you?" The black fat boy said, unconvinced. You can call me a pretty boy, but I have to correct you on something. Not only am I white, I'm also very talented. I'm a talented pretty boy, Fong Yin said. Which man didn't like being called a pretty boy? The black fat boy opened his mouth, not knowing how to continue. He practiced martial arts all day, so his literary skills were not good. Encountering this kind of literary ruffian, he was quite powerless to deal with him. Old Black, why are you talking nonsense with him? Just beat him to the ground, someone urged from behind. The black fat boy thought about it and agreed. He couldn't win against him in words, so just beat him up. That was what he was good at. So, he roared and sank his chi into his dantian. His body was like a small mountain crushing towards Fong Yin. The black fat boy was called Huang Dongsheng, nicknamed Barbarian Bull. His martial arts were profound and exquisite, and his strength could be ranked in the top 3 among this group of people. When fighting, he was a strong meat shield, and ordinary people really couldn't do anything to him. Barbarian Bull's momentum was fierce, and when he moved, he was like a crazy iron bull, rushing towards his target. At this moment, Fong Ying moved. He just moved his mouth and spat out a fishbone in his mouth. Pooh! The slender fishbone was like a small silver needle, flying straight towards Barbarian Bull's face. It was just a fishbone. Barbarian Bull didn't take it seriously at all. He didn't dodge and faced the fishbone head-on. Up! Barbarian Bull screamed, and his body staggered towards the corner of the private room. Wang Hui and his companions were all stunned. It was just a fishbone. Was there a need for such a big reaction? This guy couldn't be so passive. Was he deliberately looking for an excuse to slip away? Barbarian Bull, aren't you a little too brat? A boy with a Hunan accent said aloud. The fight hasn't even started, and you're already playing dead? It hurts. Barbarian Bull raised his head, and a slender blood mark appeared on his face. The fishbone that Fong Ying spat out had drilled into the flesh of his face and pierced his teeth. Everyone was shocked and looked at Fong Ying with eyes full of surprise and fear. Wasn't this guy too powerful? Spitting out a fishbone could injure someone like this? Wang Hui was not only good at fighting, but also had a very good eye. He knew that he couldn't do this move. Spitting could hurt people, and if it was just the strength of the mouth, it would cause almost zero damage to a martial artist like Barbarian Bull. However, even Barbarian Bull couldn't withstand it, which proved that this guy used Qigong. Experts who knew Qigong were rare in society. Even if they had a lot of people present, they wouldn't necessarily be able to gain any advantage. Wang Hui's eyes tightly stared at Fong Ying, and he asked in a deep voice, "Brother, where did you come from?" Fong Ying laughed and said, "I don't have any background. I just saw that he was a fatso, and I was also a fatso, so the two of us were a pair. I didn't expect him to be so weak. Why don't you try another one for me?" Wang Hui looked at Fong Ying, and then looked at the brothers behind him with fear, and said, "Mountains and rivers will meet again. Today, us brothers admit defeat. Next time we meet, we'll have a good fight with you guys." Brilliant Martial School's name was awe-inspiring, and the school motto was also very down-to-earth. If you can win, then fight. If you can't win, then run. He waved his hand, indicating the brothers behind him to help Barbarian Bull up, and everyone ran. "Wait!" Fong Yin shouted. Wang Hui's heart suddenly jumped, and he said, "Brother, what other advice do you have?" "First, don't call me brother. Second, I don't have any advice." Fong Yin's tone was very unkind as he said, "Don't talk to me about mountains and rivers will meet again. The mountain is so high, and the river is so long, it's really difficult to meet again. Since we met today, let me give you a good beating." Chapter 101. Since we've met today, let me give you a good beating. Hearing this, Wang Hui had the urge to kneel down on the spot. Look how refreshing and satisfying these words are. Not only does it show that I'm very cultured, but it's also very novel to those who hear it. It had to be said that in this world, there were many things that required talent. For example, acting cool. Wang Hui and his friends usually used the following 2 ways of acting cool. First, the fiery type. Second, the iceberg type. The so-called fiery type was when they were shirtless or rolled up their sleeves, shouting at others with their faces red and necks flushed. Try and touch me. Believe it or not. I'll cut you up, believe it or not. I'll beat you up until your mother can't recognize you. Brothers, get your weapons. The iceberg type of acting cool was slightly more technical, and it had certain requirements for the individual's appearance. Not everyone could use it. First of all, you couldn't be too ugly, and your body couldn't be too fat. If you were a fat man with a wretched face, even if you pretended to be cold, ruthless, and cruel, as if you would kill a pig for fun when you had nothing to do, people might still laugh at you when they saw you. Your plate had to be bright, and your bar had to be straight, tall and straight, incomparably noble and elegant standing there. Don't look directly at the opponent's eyes. It's best to look at the top of his head and a devilish sneer appearing at the corner of your mouth. Yes, the key was the word devilish. Don't laugh foolishly, and don't laugh randomly. You must show an arrogant attitude that you're a pile of dog shit. I don't care about you at all. What kind of smile can be called devilish? Who should I ask if you ask me? Look at yourself in the mirror and find the feeling. Also, he mustn't laugh out loud. If you make a sound, your acting cool style will immediately drop by 25%. After the facial movements were adjusted, all that was left was the voice attack. With a calm expression and a cold and arrogant voice, he said, "Brothers, get your weapons and beat him up until his mother can't recognize you." Of course, whether it was the fiery type or the iceberg type, they were different routes to the same goal. In the end, they still had to beat the opponent up. Wang Hui was a fan of the iceberg type. He felt that a reputable person like him should choose this more technically difficult way of showing off in order to show the outside world that he had a strategic plan and that everything was under control. However, after listening to Fong Yan's beating lines, he felt a sense of inferiority. He felt that Fong Yan's way of showing off was neither the raging fire nor the iceberg mountain style, but a way that was more advanced than the raging fire and the iceberg mountain style. The cultured and elegant style. His eyes were gentle, his face was smiling, and he spoke nicely when he said that he wanted to beat you up. You would be too embarrassed to refuse after hearing these words. An expert, Wang Hui praised in his heart. Therefore, Wang Hui was even more unwilling to fight with Fong Yan. He looked at Fong Yan and said coldly, "What? You're not letting me leave? Is this restaurant owned by your family?" Fong Yan laughed and looked at Wang Hui. He felt that this guy was very interesting. When he came in, he looked like he was the number one in the world, and he could bully whoever he wanted. He wanted his brothers to beat him up at the slightest disagreement. In the end, he kicked the iron plate that was Fong Ying. After his brother was stabbed by a fishbone, he became fearful and wanted to turn around and leave. This made Fong Yin feel very aggrieved in his heart. Why could the bad guys hit people whenever they wanted and leave when they couldn't beat them? Those good guys who couldn't beat them could only be bullied by them. Those good guys that they couldn't beat, were they just going to watch them leave? It was unfair. Therefore, no matter what, Fong Yin had to make him stay and beat him up today. "I don't own this restaurant, and it's not yours either." Fong Yin pointed to the private room door that was about to collapse and said, "My friend and I were sitting and eating. What's the matter with you coming over and kicking my door?" Wang Hui glanced at Su Bin, and Su Bin hurriedly said, "It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, the door has been broken for a long time. I was looking for someone to fix it. This is not a problem at all. Brothers, let's just forget about this matter, shall we? I will let the brothers who kicked the door pay for Boss Li's door," Wang Hui said. "This door, we will pay to fix it." "But you insulted us," Fong Yin said. "You came to kick the door when we were eating, and you even wanted to rush over and beat us up. Isn't this insulting us?" Wang Hui looked at the few dishes on Fong Yan's table and said to Su Bin, "Boss Su, put the meal these brothers ate today on my tab." Although Wang Hui was talking to Su Bin, the content of his words was already apologizing to Fong Yin. No, it's on me. It's all on me." Su Bin really wanted to keep the peace, but after seeing Wang Hui's murderous eyes, he quickly changed his words and said, "Okay, since Brother Hui wants to pay the bill, then put it on Brother Hui's tab." Fong Yin knocked on the table with his chopsticks and said, "I don't have the habit of letting a bastard I don't know pay for me. My two juniors came all the way to Huaqing to find me. This is the first meal I'm treating them to in watching. This meal, I'll pay for myself. Wang Hui's eyes narrowed, and he looked at Fang Yin and asked, "What? You don't want to let it go?" Wang Hui could be considered to have a high IQ. The brothers behind him, who were more hot-tempered, directly opened their mouths and started scolding. Where did this wild dog come from? How dare he behave atrociously in front of us brilliant men? Brother Hui, why are you treating him to a meal? We brothers can't afford to lose face like this. We don't have much else, but we have strength. Leave the money for your meal for us brothers to buy drinks. That's right. If we all attack together, they might not be our match. I'll go out and call more brothers in. It's not that I don't want to let it go. It's a different matter, Fang Yin said. You made a mistake to me, so I'll beat you up. Turning over a new leaf is something to do after you get beaten up. Wang Hui didn't say anything. His sharp eyes swept between Fang Yin, Fang Yingying, and Fang Haoen's faces and bodies, weighing the approximate chances of his side winning if they were to fight. Fang Yingying seemed to be an expert. If he went up against him, with the help of his two brothers, it wouldn't be hard to take him down. However, the strength of this pretty boy and that skinny tall guy was unknown, so the outcome was unknown. Wang Hui was young and full of vigor. He was a prideful person to begin with, and with his brothers fanning the flames behind him, Fang Yan's aggressiveness also made him stifle a bellyful of anger. He quietly put on a gauntlet on his right hand. For these martial arts school students who treated fighting as their daily routine, these offensive equipment were always carried around. We are students of Glory Martial School. The school is diagonally opposite the restaurant. You might not understand the situation of us martial arts school students. Although we usually fight fiercely in school, if someone is bullied by outsiders, we will band together to help them get back at them. Wang Hui pointed at Barbarian Bull, whose face was still bleeding, and said, "You can injure one of our brothers, but can you injure all of our brothers? You can beat everyone in this private room, but can you beat everyone in Glory Martial School?" The more Wang Hui spoke, the more excited his body became, and his expression became impassioned. This matter, we'll just leave it at that. Next time we meet, I'll treat you guys to a drink. Otherwise, the three of you can forget about leaving this restaurant today. Are you done? Fang Yin asked. I'm done, Wang Hui said. Heroes and warriors, F***CK this guy. Fang Yin roared. Stinking hooligan. Even at this time, you still dare to threaten people. I'm not someone who can't be subdued by force. The key is that you have to be strong enough. Fang Yingying was the first to jump up. This chubby fatso's movements were astonishingly fast, almost making it hard for the naked eye to follow. He clenched his hands into fists and punched Barbarian Bull, who was standing closest to him and hadn't had time to escape the battlefield, in the eye socket. Barbarian Bull grunted and fell backwards. The private room was very narrow. When Barbarian Bull fell backwards, he blocked the path of his two companions who were supporting him. Fang Yingying fought force with force. His body bounced up like a meatball, and he used all his strength to kick Barbarian Bull's chest. Thump! Barbarian Bull was tall and heavy. Under his great strength, the two companions behind him fell to the ground before him. Then, Barbarian Bull's body heavily pressed down. The sound of bones breaking came from the ground. When Fang Yingying made his move, Fang Haoen also made his move at the same time. He saw someone wearing a knuckle duster pouncing towards him. He picked up the glass cup on the table and threw it out. The scalding hot tea splashed on the body of the knuckle duster. Then he stuffed the glass cup in his hand into his mouth and fiercely bit it. Kacha! A sharp chip appeared on the glass cup. The bit that was bitten off was chewed and swallowed into his stomach. The remaining half of the glass cup became a sharp weapon. Fang Haoen held the sharp weapon in his hand and fiercely rushed towards the knuckle duster. Clang! The glass cup just happened to block the knuckle duster's attack. Fang Haoen kicked out. At this time, the advantage of a kick was revealed. Before the knuckle duster could lift his leg, Fang Haoen's big foot had already stamped on his stomach. Bang! A muffled groan was heard. The knuckle duster's body was sent flying. Fang Yingying and Fang Haoen were like tigers entering a flock of sheep, rampaging around. Every punch landed on flesh. Every time they made a move, there would be a mournful scream. Moreover, their movements were abnormally nimble. Those students from Glory Martial School had no way of touching their bodies. When the two of them stopped, there was only one student from Glory Martial School left standing in the private room. Wang Hui's eyes widened as he looked at the hero. His right hand that was holding the knuckle duster trembled slightly. "Call me brother," Wang Hui shouted at his companion who was standing stupidly at the door. That brother was dumbstruck and lost his normal human reaction. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.